Welcome back to the Oddcast. In today's episode 56, we're talking all things One Nation surging in the Victorian polls. We're going to cross over the pond to Mamdani, where he's making life harder for New Yorkers, as all socialists do. And we've got to talk about Katy Gallagher, our finance minister, embarrassing Australia on the world stage. So grab your drink, strap in. It's time for episode 56.
People are either going to laugh or I'm going to end up in prison.
Prison sounds more fun.
Those are the options. It's everyone I've tried this material on. So I'm doing like the stand-up thing at the birthday party. I'm working hard on this.
Do we need fake applause? Do we need to have
no?
Like a
there's
clap
going to
now?
be real applause and laughter and standing ovations and people rolling on the floor,
ovations.
holding their stomach, begging me to stop making them laugh.
I'm surprised you fit through that door with this ego.
Listen. I have genuinely been working actually really hard on this. I'm quite nervous about it. I got to be honest. I've been working very hard on my material, and I've been testing it. I've been, finding moments to test material. And the most common response that I get when I start testing that material that I've got for Saturday is, "Oh, that's dark."
Yeah. I like dark humour though.
I'm a little bit nervous. Are they going to laugh or am I going to end up in prison?
That's where the laughs are though, because if it's too safe, everyone's like,
yeah,
it ends up being a dad joke.
Too polite.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is not polite.
The idea of doing stand-up comedy is like torture to me.
I consider it to be very close to, if not the pinnacle of performance art.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
And I've always loved, so I studied screen acting, but I've always loved stage acting because you get that instant feedback. You have the relationship with the room. The problem with it is once it's over, it's gone. It's, that you have to, it's a true you have to be there kind of thing. But stand-up comedy is, your job, like you said, is to get that, it's to be right, it's to be this far away from having them walk out.
People don't know whether they should laugh or they're like, and they're looking sideways going, are we laughing?
And so even if someone's just doing their routine, it is actually highly interactive because they're still going to be reading the room and going, okay, do I lean in here, do I not, etc. Obviously improv is all about reading the room and making the most of what opportunities you're given. But even if it's not improv, you're still having to be very interactive with the room.
Yeah.
And I love that.
You get hecklers and things like that.
Well, you get hecklers and stuff like that. I mean, look, any hecklers, I'm just going to smash them over the head with a beer bottle. But, I'm not going to try and be clever. I just physically abuse them and kick them out.
Just on that, so this weekend is your first
This is my first ever attempt at stand-up comedy, yes.
It's the first Oddcast live show. It's our 1 year birthday.
Yes, it is.
And for anyone who bought tickets, just so you know, please check your emails. All the information has gone out. All the information about the event is in there, the location, the time, even the menu, because I like to know if I'm going to enjoy the food. So I've included the menu just in case.
Guys, I'm not saying that Carly is like ASIO. I'm not saying that she's a control freak. But I will tell you that she knows whether you've opened her emails.
That is my favourite thing.
She knows when you've been sleeping. She knows when you're awake. Yeah. She knows if you've been bad or good, and some of you have been very bad because you have sent an email back to us saying that we didn't give you the information when we can see that you've opened the email that contains the information. You just haven't read it right.
Do you know, I've had mail track. What you're talking about was actually our email campaign software, but I have a thing called Mail Track.
Yeah.
And I did it so that like when I was reaching out to celebrities or, famous people that I could see if their gatekeepers had opened it and if they'd opened it a couple of times. That was a big part of how I used to reach out to people. It's how I got Jordan Peterson. And but now, like when people go, I never got the information, I'm like, that's interesting. You opened it on Tuesday at 11, you opened it again at 12:30, you opened it again at 1:30, and then you forwarded it on. Sorry, tell me more about how you didn't get my invoice.
I can see all of that, yes.
My favourite one was when people were like, I didn't get your invoice. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to say. You missed another first. We are going to have our first ever in the studio or in-person guest on Saturday.
Excellent.
So that's going to be good fun. Well, you know about this.
Is it who we talked about?
Got two. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just confirming.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We're super organised, guys.
Yeah. No. Like we talk about things and then we wait for it to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Speaking of birthday, these arrived.
Oh, they are so pretty. Hang on.
I should probably pull it out of the plastic so you guys can see it.
Well, probably, yeah.
These are.
They're so pretty.
A fun little gift for you guys who bought tickets. These are little Oddie bumper stickers.
Yeah. And they look awesome. Everyone that has bought a ticket to the Oddcast birthday, you will get one of those on the day.
Hang on. I don't think I ordered enough for me to have one. I think I ordered just enough.
No one's allowed to take extras. We have to try and hope that. Well, hang on, no, because there's only 200 people in the room total, including us.
Yeah,
because that's all we couldn't sell 200 tickets.
Yeah.
We had to cap it. So I think you'll be fine. You'll get one. They're nice.
And then I've made us a massive big media wall.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Nice.
Do you know what I love doing? I just love branding the shit out of everything. I love making merch. I love putting stuff on things. Anyway,
it looks great. They look fantastic. The colour on those is amazing.
Oh, they smell like they've just cut off the press.
All going well, we will have the new merch.
I am looking. I am keeping an eye.
This is like torture. There is this limbo that happens where the shipment gets sent. We know it's been sent. We know it's arrived in Australia because if it hadn't, we would know about it. But it just goes into a black hole.
Yes.
You just hear nothing until all of a sudden, the way it worked with the stuff that came
pallet
before
on my
Christmas,
doorstep.
Yeah, you literally got a message, and what, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, a pallet showed up on your front lawn.
Yeah, it's actually really annoying. Like, I'm just going to have another quick look now. It's sort of, you don't get it because you don't get any updates until it's gone to its next stage of scanning.
Literally nothing, and then bang, it's coming.
Yeah,
we've launched it out of the cannon. Get ready to catch.
Yeah, so we'll see. Fingers crossed. Like, it left the supplier last week.
Yeah, it left in plenty of time.
It's Australia.
It'll be in Australia. It's just a case of how busy are they, and can somebody actually get off their ass and instead of taking an extra smoko, maybe do some work for a change.
I'm not allowed to talk about Australians being crap, so this is on you.
No, but I'm gonna make up for that. I was having my auntie's staying with us at the moment, and she was having difficulty hearing my daughter as my daughter was trying to explain a fruit break, because of course that's not the language they used when my auntie was
a fruit break.
Yeah, so she gets a fruit break at kindergarten or at primary school. She's very young, and they don't call it a play break. They don't call it a morning break. They call it a fruit break, because the whole thing is you're going to sit down, you're going to eat your fruit. You're going to be a good little boy, good little girl, and eat your fruit. And I just said to my auntie, it's what we used to know as a smoko break when we were in school back in the day, which she appreciated, but you clearly didn't because you're too busy on your phone.
I was checking.
Like a true Gen Z.
That's so offensive. No, I heard it. A smoko break. Yes, kids having a smoke. Yeah, you say things like it's funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I embarrass you by not laughing?
No. This is the thing. My humour is highly tailored. I tailor my jokes to individual people within the room.
That don't exist.
The problem is that person's never in the room.
Yeah. I figured as much.
Yeah.
All right, shall we?
If we must.
All right, ready?
Yep.
All right, ready? 1, 2.
Yep.
Left or right?
Left-hand side, up the top.
Dulcetory.
So I assume it's related to dulcet?
Yeah, dulcetory. First recorded in the English language in 1581 and originating from the Latin, I'm not going to pronounce that. Dulcetory is used to describe something that is lacking definition, purpose, or enthusiasm. So you're dulcet.
Well, I mean, in a way, it's not quite exactly the same. I mean, dulcet tones is soft and warm and inviting, whereas dulcetory is more actually lacking any definition.
I always thought dulcet was like dull.
Okay. No, I've always understood dulcet tones to be warm and
I always thought it was dull. So there you go. Lacking definition, purpose, or enthusiasm.
Well, let's bore everybody twice, and I will look up dulcet while you tell us more about dulcetory.
Okay. In Roman times, a desultor was a showman whose act was to jump continuously from one horse to another, and the word can now be used to describe, for example, a speech or conversation that jumps randomly from one topic to another without any structure or obvious point to it. A performance that is haphazard or unfocused could also be described as dulcetory. I'm confused. This is like two meanings.
But then dulcet tones, I've got it here, refers to sounds, particularly voices or music, that are sweet, soft, melodious, and pleasing to the ear. This seems to be like it's like the Swiss Army knife of words.
Yeah, he made a desultory attempt to chat her up, but
yes, desultory. I don't know how to pronounce it either because I've never used it in. Yes, that's almost like a derisive or a. Yes, yes.
Am I saying it right? Dulcetory.
Desultory, not dulcetory.
Dulcetory.
That's a very different thing. Yes, desultory. No, it'd have to be desultory. Desultory. desultory, I think.
Hang on. We need to ask old mate. Hey, how do I spell it? DES?
ULTORY. Yes, it was never dulcetory. That was never...
Desultory.
Oh, it was off again.
Oh, there you go. No,
Desultory.
we're all wrong.
Desultory.
But I will say it has nothing to do with dulcet now that I've seen the word.
Oh, okay.
Nothing to do with dulcet whatsoever. Okay, desultory.
Desultory.
Lacking a plan, purpose, or enthusiasm. Sounds like the Labor Party. No, they've got a plan. It sounds like the Liberal Party.
Well, yes. It sounds very much like the Liberal Party, and it sounds like certain apprentices that G has had at his work, and I think it's a pretty useful word. Actually, we should probably
Poor
start.
man, he's bloody.
He's never here to defend himself.
Yeah, and he's scarred for life.
We should probably actually start to use that word a lot more. Desultory.
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 I think that's a very British way to pronounce that word.
Desultory.
I don't think that's... Anyway, never mind.
Desultory.
Desultory is... I'm going to have to remember because you've already closed the book. You've got it open in front of you. Just unfair advantage.
Desultory. Well, you've won the last 3 weeks.
I
so
have,
did one.
yeah. No, I am.
Because I keep
I'm on a
forgetting about
streak.
it.
I'm on a streak.
You are.
I'm a streaker.
Good news.
Oh, goodness. Well, the chickens have moved.
I did see that on your wife's
said-
Instagram.
Yes, I said last week the chickens, they are going to be gone soon. They are gone. Okay, this isn't good news. This is like mind-blowing things you didn't know you didn't know. Did you know that it is possible, it is rare, but it is possible for hens to halfway transition to being roosters?
I really don't want to talk about your trans chicken.
My trans chicken is real.
You're giving the left ammunition.
I know, but it's the truth, and I'm a stickler for the truth. So I had to look this up because I get up early in the morning, I go and I pray upstairs, and all the windows are open, and I can hear the chickens. I've just let the chickens out, and they're doing their thing. And one of our hens... And there is no question that they are all hens.
Okay. We've
there
looked
is
under the feathers and confirmed.
There is no question. They are all hens. They are all egg layers. All have given us eggs. One of them has begun to make...
Wait, your new chicks have already made eggs?
No. I'm talking about the old ones.
Right,
Those they're
like,
a little while
gosh.
away. They grow up fast these days. No. So one of them has started to make a sound like a rooster trying to crow. It's not very good at it, but it's clearly trying.
Yeah.
And then my mum said to me, one of them has a much bigger chest than before, and I'm sure its comb is getting bigger. And I wanted to say that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but I have heard this thing trying to crow. And so I actually looked it up, and apparently, according to the infinite wisdom of the internet, chickens hens only use their left ovary. And there is a genetic condition where the left ovary can fail and the right one tries to kick in, but it actually ends up the body produces testosterone and it never becomes a functioning rooster. It never has sperm or anything like that. But it will, with the testosterone, start to behave like a rooster. It stops laying eggs, which our egg production has dropped. It will turn around and start to try and crow. It will grow a bigger comb. It will get physically bigger. All the things that testosterone would do.
So it's going to make a great roast dinner.
I have a hen on hormone replacement therapy right now.
Sounds like it's time for a Sunday roast.
It may very well be. We were discussing techniques for defeathering chickens.
You know
around
that
the
whole
table.
thing that vegetarians and vegans used to say? They're like, oh, if you can't kill it yourself, you shouldn't be able to eat it. I'm like,
That does not limit me.
I couldn't kill a chicken and I'm still going to eat it.
No, that doesn't limit me at all. I'd happily kill a human under the right circumstances, but I'm still not going to eat it, even though I would. But the people, like, you've seen those vegetarian or vegan ones where they're like, where should the line be between all the cows and horses and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's okay. So under normal circumstances, the line should be here, where we're not eating dogs and cats. Under a famine, it should be probably here, where we are eating dogs and cats. And under a zombie apocalypse, there's just no line. You just
We're
eat whatever
eating mice.
you can get. Like,
ask the North Koreans what
where
they
the
eat.
line is.
They
Ask
eat
them.
everything.
No, so we've got a chicken who's volunteering to be the first chicken that I ever pluck.
Oh, that's what I'd do.
It's very vocally volunteering too.
Yeah, it's
really
annoying me.
really making itself known.
Start cooking the gravy in front of it. That's really sadistic.
It's not the killing that bothers me.
How do you kill a chicken? Do you just chop its head off?
Well, but there's a humane way to do it, or a more humane way to do it, where you actually you grab it by its feet and you actually. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like you're doing it for fun, but you're not. You swing it as quickly as you possibly can.
Oh, to snap its neck.
No, to get all the blood to go into its head.
Oh.
And it basically blacks out, and then you can put it down, and you've got a couple of seconds before it'll start to regain consciousness. So it just loses consciousness, and then that's it.
This is why I don't work in an abattoir. Or
yeah.
You know?
So I did an Anthony Robbins 4-day seminar at the Melbourne Tennis Centre 20 odd years ago. And, interesting enough. And the fourth day actually wasn't Tony Robbins. It was some mate of his basically preaching the gospel of veganism. And he was jacked and in really good shape and blah, blah, blah. And he was a great presenter and it was funny. But he was trying the whole time was basically preaching the virtues of veganism. And one of the things that they did was they showed us a video that showed the industrial processing of chickens. And you had live chickens going in one end and you had, packaged meat going out the other end. And they showed you all the machines. And the whole thing was meant to gross you out. I was just sitting there going, this is why it's so damn cheap. This technology is incredible. Think of the human lives that have been saved by the technology that allows us to turn live animals into vacuum sealed meat on this scale.
It's only privilege that affords us the ability to complain.
Correct.
And that people don't realise that. The fact that you have abundance is why you're in the position where you can lament the processes of which the food's made.
Yes, and I mean that is the definition of a first world problem. I can tell you right now, the starving people in Africa are not concerned about whether a given animal is nearly extinct, and nor are they concerned about the manner in which it is killed.
Speaking of chicken, I'm actually quite aggrieved. We go to a local butcher behind us. It's actually it's a shop that's attached to the abattoir itself.
Oh, wow.
It's out in Dandenong. It's called Australian Butchers. They've got a couple of shops, but that's where their abattoir is. And they just had like a smaller cold room, and that's where we went and got all our stuff. And they always have packets of nuggets, and I'm a nuggy fiend. And that's usually what I eat for lunch because I'm not a big lunch eater, because if I eat too heavy a meal, I kind of sit at my desk going, "Ugh." And so anyway, we go and get nuggets and bits and pieces, and we buy these big pieces of scotch, and we get it cut up, and we buy food for about 2 weeks. But firstly, the last 2 times we've been, they hadn't had nuggies, and I asked, and they're like, "Sorry, they all went this morning." I'm like, "How dare other people take my nuggies?"
Yeah.
And then last time we were there, just before we went to Japan, they're like, "Oh, this shop's actually closing. They're closing down this particular one because they're extending the abattoir."
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're like, "We're going to build
getting
another
too busy.
shop, but we're going to have to build it down the road. They've bought new land and they're going to expand, but it's a year away." And I'm like, the audacity
How
to
dare
do
you.
this to me.
How very dare you?
So now I have to go to Baronia, which is
Baronia.
like, I don't know. That's,
I mean, for a Bayside girl, that's a real come down.
do you know what? There's parts of Victoria I don't understand or know, like Templestowe and Doncaster, Baronia. These are places I don't go.
For me, Bayside is that.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't go Bayside.
No, because I think they're bad, by the way. I
do.
I've just never been there.
Bayside's a hellhole. That's why I don't go. Honestly, you drive down the Nepean Highway and you see all the little strips of shops. And I'm like, this is dingy. This is the arse end of Preston 30 years ago.
We want that because we don't get people moving here. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Where I am.
You know why? Because no one wants to have to put up with the kind of people who live here.
Yeah. This is why. It's a terrible place. Why would you live here? It's terrible. I love that. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, the fact that everything's dilapidated and looks like it's falling down, and every single time we have an Oddcast, you want to tell us all again how many weeds are growing out of the cracks in the gutter.
See, you scolded me for this, and the amount of people who messaged me and said this is actually a problem. Anyone that lives in Victoria that goes anywhere near Southland, please just look.
Yeah.
Do you come that way? No, you don't.
No, I don't. But like I said to you at the time, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I can't be putting up a segment every single day of like, "Hey, Australians, have you heard about how shit you are? Let me take a few minutes to fill you in."
It's not Australians, not all Australians. It's just it's civic decay. So you know how I'm writing my book, Chicken in the Noodle Aisle.
How could I not?
It's moved from masters.
How could I not? Gosh.
Speaking of which, so this has now been published on a couple of academia sites. And people are downloading it. Like, people want to read it. How nice is that?
Wow. Okay.
I told you I got my final mark, didn't I?
Yeah. I think it was a fail. I think that's my memory.
Yeah.
That's what I think you said.
Anyway.
I identify as you having failed. Yeah.
I got really mad because, like, it wasn't a perfect score. And I was saying to G last night, I was like, what else could I have done? He's like, dude, you got a high distinction. You can't get higher than that. I'm like, no, but I can.
Yeah, there wasn't a perfect score.
I'm like, where did I go wrong? I was reading the feedback last night, and it said something like, oh, we would have liked it if all of the pictures had glass in front of them. And then another suggestion was that was like a catwalk where there was models walking. And then another one was like the servers were all dressed up like fancy. And G was the server. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, what do you mean? How much more fancy could I get?
They just want him in like a stripper vest.
Yeah, but I was reading the comments and I was like, this is really rich of you guys. Like, what budget did you think I had?
Yeah.
Anyway, I got derailed with the book. So this is my good news. I have been working from home for a very long time, long before COVID, all of that sort of stuff. And I go through fits and stages. Sometimes I really love it. Other times I get kind of lonely. And I do feel a little bit isolated. And I had a co-working space a little while ago, but it was just that little bit too far. And it was, even though the place itself was gorgeous, it was isolated.
Yeah.
So it was in an industrial park. And it was very fancy inside, but it was kind of like there's no amenities around it. And so I was having a look, and there's one at Chadstone. And it actually is perfect for what I want. So I want to go twice a week and just not be in my house.
That's the Waterman building in Chadstone.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's where I was. I was at the Caribbean Park one.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, I got all excited. I was like, it means I get up, I get dressed. I'm not just wearing activewear. I'll put some jeans on. I'm in a different place. And then I just work.
So you're familiar with the concept of the third place. So we all have our home. That's our first place. We have our work. It's our second place. And most people, and it seems to be a very healthy thing for human minds, get a third place. Now, traditionally, that's been the pub for blokes. For women, I don't know, the knitting club, I don't know. The neighbour's house, I don't know. But anyway, I'm not a woman, so it's not my problem. But the concept of a third place, and what's happened as one of the side effects of working from home is that our first place and our second place have become the same place. And so we've and then also we're displaced out of the third places because going to the pub is expensive now and not seen as socially acceptable, and we're supposed to be around all the time for the kids and everything else. And so this life that used to be, you've got your home, you've got your work, and you've got the third place. That's the place you go after work before you get home, on a pretty regular basis, or you go there on the weekends all the time. We've kind of lost a lot of that. I discovered that I have a third place, and I'm not proud of it.
The toilet?
Kmart.
Oh. I love Kmart.
I needed to get out of the house the other day, and I'm like, where am I going to go? I'm on a diet, so I'm not going to go down to a pub and drink beer. Where am I going? I'm going crazy, right? Because I work from home as well.
Yeah.
I'm going insane. I need to get out of the house. I'm going to go to Kmart. And I did, and I loved it.
Did you just walk up every aisle?
I just walked around and I started taking photos and sending them back to my wife saying, oh, what about this? Oh, this is it. Can you believe the price on this? I turned into my 70-something-year-old father-in-law. I don't know what happened. It was I went from not caring about Kmart to I spent 90 minutes in there.
Did you come out with a mini waffle maker or a pie maker?
I came out with a small number of things, mostly like socks and stuff. But that was the cheapest 90 minutes of entertainment I've ever had.
Kmart's a great store. I'm a big fan of Kmart.
I don't understand what happened to me.
I go there every now and then. So it's funny you say this. I reckon the audience could relate to this. Oh, those of you who have had to work from home or work from home, you get to a point where everything looks the same. And I feel like I'm in a nut house. I see this all day, every day.
Because you're in it. It is a nut house.
But realistically, if I said to G, if I don't go for a walk every morning, I don't move. I'm very sedentary.
Yeah.
So I force myself to go to the beach every morning and get at least 5,000 steps because that's the most I'll do, apart from walking to the bathroom or to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so every now and then I see the same bathroom, I see the same towel, and I see the same sheets, and I'm like, I just need something to be different, and then I'll just go to a Kmart and buy new tea towels or something.
Yeah, there you go. All right. I literally did it for the therapy of being there, not even for the purpose of getting anything. I literally didn't want to have to walk out past the security person with nothing in my hands, which means that they feel like they can't stop you, but then you feel like they're judging you for probably being a thief.
Your pockets are full. You're waddling.
Yeah. Like, no, I need to actually buy something, so there's something in my hands, and I've got a receipt to show you. And so I did.
Yeah, I did that the other day. I bought a bunch of candles from Kmart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure all of this was on our list of things to talk about.
Yeah.
We're 100% on topic.
That's a massive discussion about making employees go back to the office, and people are like, I don't want to. I actually think, having been someone who has been working from home over 15 years, there's an element of it, like, I think it's very good for you.
Yeah, I am actually looking forward to growing my operation to the point that I have people working alongside me in a studio that's not in my house. That will be a lovely milestone, and it'll be very, very good for me, and it's why you need to move to Albury. But
When you have your private plane, I will.
well, what difference would it make if you live in Albury? You
Because I will never be living in Albury.
Oh, yeah, that's what you think.
Never.
You just need to spend a bit of time there. I was dead against it until I actually spent 2 nights there.
You say this to someone who spent 4 years in Warrnambool at uni and then lived in Geelong for 10 years.
The fact that you think that Warrnambool and Geelong are in any way comparable to Albury tells me that you have no idea what you're talking about.
Albury?
I've been to both. I've spent time in Albury, in Warrnambool, in Geelong. There is no comparison.
Okay. Let's just move on because we're going to have a fight. But yeah, I think the working from home thing, it does get quite tedious. And I think it's not just about the inconvenience, like, because you know that there's that quote that people will always choose comfort over truth. And I think a lot of people...
Always is strong, but yes, a lot of people will do that.
Well, I didn't make the quote.
Sure.
I'm just quoting the quote. I think a lot of people have fallen into this trap of convenience. You know, working from home is more convenient, it gives you more time or whatever. It does. Sure, and you can argue that. But there's always a trade-off. You always are giving up something, and you're giving up your ability to get out of the house and get, like, fresh air, do something else. Serendipity. You don't know what could happen on your commute.
Yep.
You might bump into someone. You might go to a new shop. You might find a new cafe, whatever. Like, this can be small or it could be momentous. You are no longer socializing with new people. You're kind of staying with the people that you already know.
Yep.
And also, you cannot replace face-to-face conversation.
You also, I think, you're giving up a lot of efficiency. Now, that sounds weird because a lot of people say, oh, you know, a lot of the office time's wasted around the water cooler conversations, blah, blah, blah. Yes, but a lot of mistakes are caught early because the misunderstanding is revealed by a casual conversation at the water cooler or with someone being able to go, Barry, what was that thing?
Yeah.
You know, and rather than you're at home and that would be an email and that's, okay, no, I'm just going to I'm pretty sure he said this. And then having wasted a day's work in that direction, you find out that you've gone the wrong one. I actually think that incidental communication of an office environment is actually really, really valuable from a productivity point of view. Not because people don't waste time in the office, but because actually people are wasting time at home, not necessarily actively, although sometimes yes, because they're working on things that they're making mistakes that they wouldn't have made if they'd been in the office. But
it's also a collaboration thing as well. Like, you know, yes, you can get on Zoom or whatever, but it's just not the same in my opinion.
It's not the same.
I used to work...
if that was always the same, I wouldn't bother to come down to Melbourne every week for our podcast.
Yeah.
Like, it is different.
Very different.
Yeah.
When I was... My very first proper corporate job post-uni, I worked in the Herald Sun building in the city.
Yes.
And I worked in news magazines, which is like Vogue and GQ and all that. And we were on, I think it was the 6th level, and I had the most spectacular view from my little cubicle office thing. And it was open plan, but cubicle kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, not the high rise in front of you. You can see everyone.
Yeah.
And I was looking over the Yarra and the, you know, Southgate and that bridge and everything. And then in the morning, I would walk past the Southgate shops and grab myself a coffee.
It's like druggies to the right of me, bodies to the left.
It wasn't like that.
Here
it was
I am,
not
stuck
like
in
that
the
back
middle
then.
with a latte. Yeah.
It was not like that back then. I used to get off at Flinders Street and walk across. And then at lunchtime, I'd go for a walk around the 10 or I'd go to Beer on Mar. And like it was, lifestyle was quite lovely.
Yeah.
I'm probably romanticizing because it was a long time ago now.
Sure.
But yeah, now at home, I just feel like I'm in a bit of a funk. Anyway, enough about that.
Well, so your good news was...
I'm going to have a little officey place.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. I think I'll just do the hot desky one. I don't think I need a physical place, but it's more just so when I want to do deep work, I need to be locked in.
So there's a funny thing about noise for me. I'm coming to understand I'm actually very, very noise sensitive. And I've kind of known that, but I've denied it. I've suppressed it. I've not allowed myself to be noise sensitive. And so I'm a kind of person where eventually it explodes because I'm like, no, it's fine. And then I'm like, and realizing actually, no, noise and what I can hear really affects me. But it's not actually what the noise is. It's whether that noise is something that I am supposed to care about. Someone else's kids being shitty doesn't bother me. My kids doing it in a way that's affecting other people or, you know, the neighbours are, you know, no, I can't work while that's, I have to go and find out what's going on. Someone else's dog barking, no problem. My little mop barking, cannot stand.
Yeah.
Cannot stand it. So I'm now quite often. So my studio is not soundproof, nothing's soundproof, but it's very good from a sound point of view. But it gets too hot, so I have to leave the door open most of the time. I carry earplugs with me everywhere I go now. They're attached to my keys.
Like those little loop ones.
Yeah, they're attached to my keys, and I need them more than I would have ever thought.
They've become really popular. So loop has surged. I have them as well.
Yeah.
I have them for sleeping.
Yeah.
But I'm actually the same. If I want to read, or if I'm trying to do deep work, like I'm writing or something, I need quiet. And it's like, I love my dogs.
This is the difference. I don't need quiet. I can be sitting in a pub with
I
raucous conversations around me, but it's not noise that relates or pertains to me or anyone that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
It's not my noise.
Maybe that's a dad problem.
Yeah.
Because you're like, your
I don't
ears
know.
are up.
Well, I mean, with the kids, absolutely, my antennas are up all the time. I'm listening out for trouble. I was in the studio with the door closed, and I heard a sound. This is just yesterday afternoon, and I heard a sound that I went, "That's an unusual sound." So I got up and I walked out of the studio. I could hear some sort of a ruckus upstairs, and I went upstairs, and one of the kids had dropped a bowl and a ceramic bowl and just gone all over the floor. And then the reaction, the kids had no shoes on, so my wife had to get the kids away from there and blah, blah, blah. And that's what I just heard a little tiny element of. But I'm sitting working and I'm locked in, and my brain just goes, that sound wasn't normal. And it wasn't loud. I was in the studio with the door closed.
Someone's drawing on a wall somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of that kind of thing. But if it's not my noise, I love a noisy environment. I love it because it blocks out so much other stuff. But it just has to be not my noise.
Yeah.
And if it is my noise, I go earplugs in, then I go to the noise cancelling headphones over the top, cranked.
Yeah.
With music or something like that. And then that way the rest of the world just completely disappears. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, you. Okay, do you want to pick the story? Do you want to start with a funny one? Because I know you haven't watched this.
Okay, what do you got?
Katy Gallagher, our finance minister, not knowing the difference
heard,
between gross and net.
Oh, is that what it was? I heard. I've been so busy trying to get videos done. I actually haven't looked into this.
So what's funny is this actually came up weeks ago, and I saw it and I just rolled my eyes because, like, I'm not shocked by this. By the way, I'm not at all shocked to hear that someone who doesn't have a finance degree, doesn't know what she's talking about. But this has now been picked up globally. And people are like, oh my God, Australia is a laughingstock. So I'm going to play you the clip.
I just don't have that figure in front of me.
You said there's been $114 billion of savings across your budgets. Mm-hmm. Is that net savings or gross savings?
Well, it's savings and reprioritising. So we're saving and then essentially to offset new priorities.
So you're saying that's net of spending decisions? You reduced expenditure by $114 billion?
It's a gross figure.
That's gross, right. What is the net figure?
I don't have that available.
Is it positive or negative?
Well, I just don't have that figure in front of me.
Has the savings you've made been greater than or less than the new spending that you've initiated?
It is $114 billion in savings and reprioritisations.
But if you spend every dollar that you've saved, it's not a save, is it? It's spending it on something else.
Well, that can be the way you twist it.
When you say on radio, as you did last week, we've found $114 billion in savings across a number of budgets, I think the public will think that means you've saved $114 billion. But if you've gone and spent that and some more, you haven't saved $114 billion.
No, we have.
How have you saved it if you've gone and spent it?
Authorised by A. Hurst Liberal, Canberra.
It's not good, is it?
Oh, that hurts.
It's not good.
Physically, I like my what do you call it? Like not
secondhand.
Yeah, secondhand. Like no,
it's not good.
No.
What got me too is like in the middle. Is that like a Senate's estimate hearing or something?
That'd be Senate estimates, yeah. Hang on, James Patterson, is he a senator?
I'm not too sure, but I don't know.
It'll be one of those sorts of things.
I don't know if you picked it up. She's wearing an Apple Watch, and you see a notification on her Apple Watch that she got an email.
Yeah.
And then when she's answering, she's literally like, she's in a hearing, and she's like looking at the email.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that she might have been trying to see whether she had that information.
No, she wasn't. You can tell.
I'm not going to gotcha her on that.
No, that's bullshit. She literally got an Apple notification, then immediately picks up her phone. Come on, she's not locked into what she's doing.
So James Patterson is a senator, so that'll be a Senate estimates of some sort. I'm not 100% precise on how all that works, but it is a pretty big part of what senators do
Yeah.
is getting the bureaucrats in and actually
asking them
demanding
questions.
answers. Yeah.
And look, I've been reading some of the comments about this because when I say this has gone mega viral, this has gone like internationally viral.
I've heard 8-point-something million views, but,
Yeah,
but obviously it would have been reposted. So I don't know how they.
I don't know how you figure that, but
Yeah.
it's everywhere,
Yeah.
and like a lot of
I just don't have that figure.
a lot of sites are posting it. So
yeah, it hurts.
and then of course people are like, oh, she doesn't have a finance degree, but she does have an arts degree. I don't think that's relevant. I think that to be a finance minister, you should understand basic economics.
I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
And I went to public school until the end of, I think it was the end of grade 3 in primary school. And I never went back. I've never done a university degree. I'm one of the least educated people you will ever meet. But I understood precisely every question that Senator Patterson asked. And I understood the nuance of what he was looking for.
It's fairly basic.
That's not hard.
Do you know what though? The left have actually demonized having financial literacy because of course their whole rhetoric is eat the billionaires and all this sort of stuff. But was it Harriet, what's her name, in Victoria? She actually asked her staff to not use economic terms. Like, I've got to pull this up. Harriet,
I'm not
what's her name? Finance
Harriet.
Minister. Harriet Spires, starts with S, Minister in Victoria, asks staff to not use.
So literacy is literacy and financial literacy go hand in hand, and this could be a conversation that ties back to some of what we've talked about before with words and meanings and the loss of vocabulary.
Jacqueline Symes, sorry.
Okay, so that I know. Harriet, I was like, I don't remember Harriet.
She's a MP as well, but she's in a different thing.
She must be a memorable one because I don't remember her at all. One of the reasons why, and this is going to piss some people off, one of the reasons why Jewish people have historically flourished so well wherever they've gone over literally thousands of years is because baked into the law of Moses is the requirement to teach all males how to read by the time they're 13. Mm-hmm. Because at 13 years of age, they have to be going with their family to the temple and they go through the entire Torah, the entire law, every single year, and they have to be involved in readings at home. They're considered to be a man at that point. They have to be able to read the Torah for themselves. As a result, the Jewish community had literacy levels that far outstripped almost every other culture. There have been a few other exceptions in history, but almost every other culture, and the numeracy came with it. And then when you see, you sort of think, oh, they're just doing it for a laugh. You see movies that talk about the Wild West in the US or these various places, and there are people that they can't even, if they give you a $20 note and you give them change, they can't verify that you gave them the correct change. They have no numeracy whatsoever. And that was a real thing.
That's a thing now. I've noticed
It's
this
a thing
as well.
now, it is, yeah.
Young kids can't count back change.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and this was something that when you handled cash all the time, the minute you got a customer service role, you learned the first thing you do is level it out to the nearest dollar. So if they're paying you 95 cents and they give you a $5 note, well, they need $4.05 change, but the first thing you reach for is the 5 cents to bring it up to $1. And now you've got a whole dollar amount to work with. Then you bring it to the nearest 5 or the nearest 10, and then you can work your way back from there. It's very, very quick when you do it in the correct direction. If you go the other way, people are like, oh, but hang on, it's 25. And no, you don't have to do that. You start with the smallest denomination and move backwards. That was a simple thing in my childhood. Every single kid knew that because we'd worked. I mean, in my case, I learned that because I worked at like a garage sale, a bric-a-brac sale for my church on a semi-regular basis, and we had them at school. And my mum did garage sales from time to time when the family ran out of money. And it was just something that you learned. It was an inherent part of your childhood. But numeracy and literacy is so foundational to your success, your ability to organize. And the ability to organize is essentially there are two things in the world: organization and energy. And whoever can organize the energy best wins. That's literally it. To boil it all right down, it's the organization of energy. The ability to organize is predicated on the ability on numeracy and on literacy. And we have people in this country in positions where they're supposed to be organizing who lack basic numeracy.
I mean, I've been talking about this for a while. It's declining because I think so many people now are reliant on their phones. You know, it used to be calculators. Now your phone does the thing. But even now, like when you're like in the customer service industry, if you're working in retail or food, like most people just tap anyway.
I think there's a lot of high school teachers out there that owe their students an apology because the student said, why do I have to learn this? That we have calculators. And the teacher said, well, you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket, are you?
That's an old joke. And yes,
Joke's
you're
on
right. Do you know? No, the addition, subtraction, that's all good. But I used to do maths methods.
Okay.
Trigonometry, all the abstract things,
math as opposed to arithmetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actual math. I'm like, I have never used any of it. I've never needed to work out sine, cos, or tan. I've never needed to do... I mean, I'm sure if I was in a different industry, maybe, but...
When I turn on a shower, I don't need to calculate the trajectory. I just observe it and then adjust.
And that's how I feel about physics too. I actually hated physics at school. I really did not enjoy it at all.
There's a funny thing, though, because one thing, this won't be news to anyone watching, having a context for where you might use this kind of skill.
Real use cases,
Yeah, real use cases is pretty important. I know a homeschooling family in the US, they had a son and they were like hyper chill. Yeah. They didn't actively try and get their kids to even learn how to read until they expressed some sort of interest. They're kind of following this interest-based learning, which is even a little bit too far for me, right? But they were all the way down that path. One of their daughters didn't learn how to read till she was 14, and just something went ding in her head, and then literally within a couple of weeks she was up to Dickens and all, where she was intellectually up to, because she was intellectually very advanced. She just had never put it together. I don't know. Anyway, one of their kids had no interest in mathematics whatsoever. They're like, he'll be a sports guy or whatever. Then he discovered that in order to do long-range shooting, he needed to be able to calculate a bunch of things. Mm-hmm. And the moment he had that thing, I want to hit that Coke can that's 600 yards away from me, and I want to hit it with my first bullet, not my fifth. Right, so now I have to calculate wind, I have to calculate distance, I have to calculate bullet drop, I have to calculate, once you get out to 1,000 yards and 2,000 yards and beyond, you got to calculate for the influence of the ambient temperature on how the powder's going to burn, the air density on how the bullet's going to slow down. It gets absolutely insane.
Do you know how I know this? Mark Wahlberg taught me in Shooter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's how I learned about snipers.
The rotation of the earth, the elevation of the target versus the elevation of the shooter, it all comes in. And once this kid was like, no, but I really want to hit that can. All of a sudden, the math, just the outcome, the books, he's just learning, and he just had...
Because it's no longer abstract.
Yeah, he had a reason.
Yeah, you're looking at, it's purposeful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I learned in school that I've never used. Whereas if it had been like, okay, this is how we work out basic budgets, and this is how we do a resume, like things that you actually use. But we all know that schools are made to make compliant workers. We know it's not to actually make you smart.
Yes.
Most of the stuff I have learned, so, I talk about my bachelor degree, for example. I had 12 hours of contact at my university per week.
Okay.
I knew more than my lecturers. So I just had to go through the motions, pay the money to the government through HEX to come out with this piece of paper that I taught myself. And I'll give you an example. So I went to uni just as we were going really digital. We weren't quite there. Digital cameras had been out maybe 2 years.
So this is not for the masters. This is the first.
This
time
is my first time. So this is like 2000.
Like back in the 1700s.
2004 to 2006. I was at uni. It feels like decades ago because it
was. Yeah. Yeah, feels like it because it is.
Yeah, it's weird. And time is a construct, guys. Anyway, and so my lecturer was an old school graphic designer. He was like the old school way of doing it. Yeah. And he was teaching us things in a very rudimentary way that didn't quite make sense. And back then, magazines were still king. And I used to import these magazines from the UK or Hong Kong. And they showed you the tutorials back when you had literally like a CD-ROM. You'd upload it, give you the working files, and then you went through Photoshop. That's how I taught myself, not through university. Yeah. And obviously I did well at uni, and they're like, oh, she's an exceptionally talented student. I was like, no. I just actually went out and figured it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the problem with most universities. It's the same with my masters. Like we went to some lectures, and this is not to shit can my school. Like everyone was very lovely. Do I feel like I got anything for my 45K?
Yeah.
No.
But this is the thing. These sorts of environments end up, they try and attract the best to the university so that they'll get the best outcomes later in life. But the truth is actually the people that can succeed with a uni degree are more than likely going to be people that would have succeeded without one.
100%.
They are already going to be those kinds of people.
If you've already got agency and you're ambitious, that's all you need.
Yeah.
A lot of it, and a lot of people overcomplicate things as well. So, for example, the other day when we were talking about brand, I know a lot of people like to get caught in the weeds because you think it's the devil's in the details, that this 1% is going to be the thing. Yeah. The truth is it's so much simpler than that.
We pretty much never talk about 1%ers. We are talking always about low-hanging fruit. And and as you know, you're now on board my business, and obviously the Oddcast is a joint thing, but you're actually helping me. And we both, every time we have a strategic conversation, it's like we still haven't picked all the low-hanging fruit yet.
Yeah.
Like, forget the 1%ers. We've got relatively easy stuff that neither of us has the hours in the week to get to yet. Yeah.
100%. And like, so when it comes to whether it's politics, life, finances, everyone's always focused on like, oh, you know, what are the lotto numbers and how do I invest in an EFT? I'm like, or you could just have a budget so you don't spend more than you earn.
Yeah.
That's the basics, guys.
Let's start there.
So this is who I was talking about. This is Harriet Shing. So she is the housing minister in Victoria.
Okay.
I was conflating two people. I was like, Harriet Symes. No, it's Harriet
for whatever reason, I've never even heard of her.
But this is Jacqueline Symes, who told her staff that they need to stop using economic terms. So
And she's the treasurer.
I'm just going to play this very quickly.
Can you just line that up a little better?
Sorry.
Get a load of this headline from today's Herald Sun newspaper. The article says, staff dealing with the new Victorian Treasurer, Jacqueline Symes, told to stop using economic terms. According to government insiders, the woman responsible for one of Australia's largest economies simply doesn't understand economic terms and so has asked staff, please don't use words I don't understand. To be honest, while we're having a bit of a giggle at this, I don't think she should feel that bad because her predecessor, Tim Pallas, who left the state with almost $180 billion worth of debt, he didn't understand basic economic terms either, like, you know, budget, surplus, savings. And it's not as hard as Jacqueline Symes probably imagines. I think if she just learned 3 words, she would pretty much have a grasp of Victoria's finances. Bankrupt, what's the other 3? Bankrupt.
How would I know, James?
It's pretty sad, isn't it? And I mean, people get really caught up in this. They're like, oh, I know they're idiots or whatever. I'm like, yes. No one that goes into politics would be doing so if they had viable options in the private sector.
Very few.
Yeah.
There have been exceptions, but very few. But this is. I'm copying flack at the moment because I haven't jumped on board the pro-Angus Taylor thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm being pretty savage on him. And I'm copying some flack because there are people that want me to be like, but you should celebrate the change, this and that. Understand, politics by its nature does not reward merit. Politics by its nature rewards a lack of principles and loyalty, which sound like they're opposites, but they're not. So loyalty to the party, to the power brokers that helped you get there, etc. But actually, effectiveness in politics is all about how greasy you're willing to be. The more you're willing to compromise, then the more opportunities you get to be in negotiations.
Which is why we get frustrated with their desultory.
Yes. With their desultory what?
Well, just their lack of having a plan.
With their desultory policies, I guess.
Well, no, it's just being desultory. It's a verb.
Well, yeah, but you're finishing the sentence with a verb.
Well, yeah, they're just being lazy.
I'm going to pay it to you because I'd forgotten all about it. I'm not arguing that you get it. I just don't think you quite used it right. But anyway, moving on.
But the problem with a lot of MPs and things like this, and I look, for you guys watching, you probably understand this, but this is what I was arguing on Monday night. Us who are sitting here having these conversations, we're the exception. I'm telling you now, and I know this because most of my work has always been around brand.
Yeah.
People aren't having these conversations in the big world, right?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
And can I reinforce that with an absolutely terrifying stat? And I don't remember the precise stat, so I'm going to underestimate it significantly. A survey was done, and it was only in the last 12 months, that found a majority of Australians, I'm going to say like 70%, but let's just say 50%. Half of all Australians could not name the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is what I was trying to get across on Monday, and I was getting quite flustered because people weren't quite understanding, and maybe I was articulating it poorly, but when we get into the weeds about, it's the policy, it's this, that, I'm like, no, honestly, it's messaging, and this is why Labor wins. Because even though it's insulting to our intelligence that they won't use economic terms, guess what? Most people who have to go and vote because it's forced, they also don't understand this stuff.
But there's a difference between choosing not to use economic terms in your marketing for an election versus...
not knowing what they mean.
Versus the finance minister saying, please don't use economic language with me because I don't understand.
Labor would probably argue there's not. This is why these people have the positions that they do.
Oh, my goodness.
But, and
we're not going to make it, are we? as a species? Like we're just doomed, right?
I said to you when you walked in before, I was like, everyone's dumb. Because I was frustrated.
It's nice when door opens, you lock eyes with me, everyone's dumb. Well, hello, nice to see you as well.
And I'll give you an example without throwing anyone under the bus. It's more so, you think about your day job, right? And what your tasks are to do daily. And you might have 3 big tasks that you're like, yep, I'm going to mow these over.
Yeah.
But it's always the little things that end up taking everything else. Yes. And a big thing that I am intolerant of, more so because I know it's a time sink, is silly conversations, messages that could just be the person themselves could have solved quite easily.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example, and someone's like, oh, they'll email you a question. I'm like, it could have taken you seconds to Google that yourself.
Yeah.
Or it's, when someone calls
less time than it took you to write the email.
Correct. It was like when someone wants to call a meeting when it could have been an email, that kind of concept.
Yeah.
And that gets me so worked up because I'm like, I just want to do my thing and all these other little things.
So guys, Carly doesn't want to say it because she doesn't want to upset you. But please check your emails before you send her an email saying, hey, where's the party on Saturday? Please check your emails. Because boy, did I cop an earful as soon as I walked through the door.
Well, it's just more like, that was an extra half an hour that I lost.
Oh, I know. So have you heard the theory of, they do it with like a glass and pebbles and larger rocks and smaller rocks.
Yeah.
And the illustration is that you take the glass, if you fill it up with water, then you can't fit a single small stone in without it spilling.
Correct.
Right? If you fill it up with small stones, then the large stones won't fit no matter what you do. Even though there might be air in between the small stones, the large stones don't fit.
Yeah.
So the way you get the most in is you put the big stones in first, then you put the medium ones, the smaller ones, and then finally you fill it up with water.
Yes.
And at that point, you've kind of maximized the potential. And so much of this stuff that you're talking about is like the water.
Yes.
And it's never ending. There is an unlimited amount of it.
Correct.
It's what my wife and I, when we're talking, because she runs her own business as well, it's what we call make work.
Yeah.
Where you're busy, you're flat out busy, but actually have you gone anywhere?
And this, like you and I had this conversation last week, I get so frustrated because I'm like, the task is here that I want to do, but everything is pulling me away from this one thing and I get so worked up about it. But the reason I brought this up is not to shame anyone, but more so, isn't that just the way we work these days? A lot of the big things that should be done, we are constantly taken away from discussing
100%.
silly things that don't actually move the needle or actually help us.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you need to do my Getting Your Head in the Game masterclass, because we focus on focus and where you spend your time. Nice little segue there. We didn't plan this at all. G has been telling us we need to do more ads and stuff, so I'm just going to G, you're going to be proud of me. You're absolutely right. And getting those priorities in order, understanding, like if you want to move forward in life, you actually have to know where you're going. And that can't just be arbitrary. It can't be like, well, my neighbor said that we should go that. My dad taught me that. No. What do you believe you need to be doing and achieving with your life? And are the things you're doing and the things you're focusing on, the things you're allowing yourself to be distracted by, moving you towards that or not? And it's astonishing. I've talked about it before. 2024, the year from hell. 2025, literally my best year ever. I did them back to back. And it was entirely because I stripped out of my life a bunch of the other nonsense.
Yeah.
And I got okay with pissing people off. I got okay with people being upset with me because I hadn't heard back from me after they sent me a message. I got okay with people wanting little bits of my time and me going, no, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. And the core concept for me, which I do teach in the masterclass, is every yes has a no attached to it, and every no opens the opportunity for a future yes. So we don't like to say, well, I was raised, it's rude to say no. You try and help people, you try and accommodate people, you try and be as gracious and as open and as available as possible. But what that means is that your life gets filled up with all the little bits of bullshit.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're sitting there going, my day was packed and I had no spare time and I got to none of the things that mattered. And so realizing the reason I'm saying no to the stuff that matters is because I keep saying yes to all the stuff that doesn't. And I learned that every yes has a no attached to it. You said yes then, therefore you have to say no now. You've got no choice because you're out of time, you're out of money, you're out of whatever it might be. And when I reframed that and realized I cannot say yes.
Yeah.
Every yes has a no attached. Every time you say yes here, every time you say yes here, there is a no that goes along with it. You are simultaneously saying yes and no. All you're doing is choosing the order.
Yeah.
That's all you're ever doing. And when I realized that, it got so easy for me to go, no, screw you.
There's so many things, I obviously had a company before and it liquidated. But when I I like to look back and go, what was my role in it? Because I can already name a million things that went wrong that was external to me. But obviously, I'm at the helm. I have to learn.
And even if it couldn't have been saved, you still want to learn.
Yeah, and I look back and I go, you know where I went? I can pinpoint a couple of things, but a big thing was I was too worried about offending people. And I look at my competitors who started at the same time as me, and one of them's gone on to be incredibly successful, and good on them. But they were ruthless.
Yeah.
And they did things that I thought were unethical, but got them ahead, didn't it?
I can tell you exactly where your business went wrong.
I didn't make scrunch bum leggings.
When you said no to the scrunch bums.
That and the seamless, 100%. I know it, 100%. And even the other day, so I was looking for new activewear, and those who follow me on Instagram would have seen me ranting about this. Everything looks the same. Everything is neutral, no logos, no prints, and if you it doesn't matter what website you're on, it all looks the same, right? We've got this like uniform, and I said this is like Soviet times. We don't want to stand out. I know why. It's because individuality has been demonized. But the amount of people who said to me, they're like, Carly, you know what this means? And I'm like, nope. And they're like, do it. You know, go back into it. I know all this stuff. I know it inside out. It's not hard to do, but I mean, the risks are too high.
Well, your Kobe stuff's cool though.
Yeah.
Have you shown Kobe to the Oddies?
Not yet. I did some samples and I was underwhelmed.
Oh, right. Because it looked good, but I didn't wear it.
No. So can I give you guys an example? So just on this, I really want to get back into hoodies. I'm a big hoodie person.
Yeah.
And I like colour. I don't like to look ridiculous.
Boy, does she. When you see the Kobe stuff.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And the issue is I also like good fabric.
Yes.
And to get vibrant colours on cotton can be quite tricky. And so obviously I don't want to make things that are too expensive.
Yeah.
But the trouble I had in my old company is my personal values were I wanted the thing to last.
Sure.
So you need longevity. And I also care about the fabric. I don't like wearing cheap fabric. I don't like things that pill. I don't like things that are poorly made, that aren't lined, all that sort of stuff, which means your product is already higher because there's higher production value.
Yeah.
And then you get stuck with you need volume to make it profitable. And you and I are having this conversation about your stuff at the moment.
Oh, yes.
And so this is
if
the thing.
If anybody wants to buy 1 million T-shirts off me, just give me a call.
Buy some of the hoodies. I know it's not cold,
Yeah, the
but
hoodies,
please buy some hoodies. They're amazing.
They're amazing, and we need to turn some stock over so that I can get a new design of hoodie in for winter.
But this is what I think people misunderstand, because obviously we do have fast fashion.
Yeah.
And I understand cost is prohibitive. I get all that sort of stuff. But I'm just trying to argue a different point. You don't need to have 30 different things in your wardrobe. You don't need 300 pieces of clothing. What you need is clothing that will last. And I understand you want to buy something new once a month. That's totally fine. You can buy some things. But you shouldn't need to go to Zara or Cotton On and buy 50 things every year. You shouldn't. And the problem is a lot of fast fashion now, and even the high street stuff, so stuff that you might spend $200-300 on, it's all polyester.
Yeah.
Why? It's cheap. It's easy, and you can put a markup in.
Yeah.
So she's a girl I follow on Instagram. I shouldn't call her a girl. She's a woman. She's a grown-ass woman. She runs a brand called Deering, and she is one half of the team that built the big bikini brand Triangle. And she had a massive exit.
They did the colour. They did the...
it was neoprene.
Yeah.
And she had a massive exit of $70 million.
Yeah, good.
Right? Huge.
Yeah.
And she's now gone into fashion, and she's just a fashion girly. She loves all the designer stuff, and she's got like a really cool sense of style. And she put up a story the other day, and I thought it was fascinating because she's wealthy, right? So money's not an object for her.
Yeah.
But obviously she's got her accountants and her team going, hey, this isn't viable. We're not going to be profitable.
Yeah.
And even though, and the reason I'm explaining this to you guys is this is basic economics. You might have a finite amount of money, or you might have an infinite amount of money like Erin does. But there comes a point where you're just pouring money down the drain.
Yeah.
And I was just going to finish. She was looking at fabric. She was in China, and she was talking to people about she doesn't know what quite to do with her brand. It's not a cheap brand. I'd say her things start from like 100 to like 500, depending on what she's making.
Mid to higher range.
Yeah. She wants it to be cool, but like not designer $1,000 pieces.
These aren't Birkins.
And she had a couple of people complain that she was using polyester. And she's like, I hear you. But if I make it out of silk, it's going to be double the price. There's no margin because I'm not ordering 2,000 units. I'm ordering a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
And I think as consumers, we want everything. We want our cake and to eat it too. And what I mean by that is you can't want sustainability, good fabrication, lasts forever, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
And the problem is we've become such hypercharged consumers.
Yeah.
We want to have it tomorrow as well. We want it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And we want to go to the shops and we want them to have the full size range from like small to 5 extra large. And we want it there in every single store. So it doesn't matter if we go into Myer at Doncaster or Myer in Burke Street, they have the range. You just can't. It's not sustainable.
And this is one of the reasons why the big brands get bigger, because they have the volumes. They have
why
the,
Kmart's
they have the
Kmart.
margins, correct. You know, even in our case, we've had to have a discussion about not offering sizes above, I think it's 2 extra large, because once they get beyond that, I have to do another screen, because now we've shifted to screen printing. And so now there's an additional capital cost in addition to the stock cost. And when we actually ran the numbers, the margins were already so tight that was enough to make the difference. It's like, well, sorry, the new designs that are coming in, we have to cap it at 2 extra large. I just can't. I can't lose money on a product. And I wanted to touch on what you said before. It doesn't matter if you've got a lot of money. If you're losing money, that's still a bad thing. And that's not just because you're losing money. It's because you are destroying the world's wealth.
Yeah.
This is such an important thing. I had this conversation actually with my wife the other day, and we were talking about success and so forth. And, you know, the realization that a lot of people say, oh, well, if I made a lot of money, then I could do some good. No, hang on. If you've done it the right way, with integrity, you've kept your promises, then you've already done a lot of good. And the proof that you've done a lot of good is that you've made a lot of money, right? People don't give you their money unless they look at whatever it is you're offering them in return and they go, I'll be better off with that than I am with this money. And that's a different equation for every single person. But if people are out there giving you their money, that is a pretty clear sign that you're adding value to the world.
Yeah.
So what that means is if you're running a business at a loss, you're consuming value.
Yeah.
The sum of the parts, the costs, the inputs that you're putting in is worth less than the output that you're creating in the end. Now, going back to the energy and organization, if everything is energy plus organization, essentially what you're taking is energy and organizing it into a way that is less valuable than what it was when it was in its input form. Right?
Yeah, and
you're destroying the world's value if you're going backwards in business.
100%. And I think with the younger generations, I mean, you and I understand business, and whether or not you're in business or not, if you've worked in positions in companies, you understand budgets, you understand overheads, you understand net versus gross. How embarrassing. But, I mean, these are fairly rudimentary concepts.
It's not like she's in a position of power.
No, I mean, it's not like she's in control of the country's finance portfolio.
Not at all.
But I mean, when we talk about agency and stuff like this, and this is what I was trying to touch on last week, and again, like, you know, something I just want to clarify for people, when we're on these conversations, when we're having these conversations, sometimes like the words are forming in my brain as I'm speaking them. So I'm not coming to here with a script, but we talk about agency. I can't control how terrible our state and federal governments are at spending money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, taxes are high and things are costing more. But what I can control is the money that I earn and how I spend it and what I do with it. That's agency, right? And I think a lot of this is like we know there's things happening to us externally, and we allow that to take our foot off the gas on our own. So whilst I can't control taxes going up, I can't control utility bills going through the roof.
Yeah.
I can't control that everything around me is getting more expensive. What I can control is how I make that money work for me. Now, I'm not a finance guru. This is not financial information. But I think a big part, and I know you're going to talk about this in your masterclass, is just recognizing there are still things that we can do. There are levers in our own life. And a big part of it is understanding how this all works and getting leverage and using your money better. And I think because we've demonized wealth and being rich is like some kind of nebulous thing that people have done nefariously.
You're automatically evil.
That means we don't have to worry about our own understanding of economics. Like, I would say I'm a middle-class average Joe. I'm not wealthy by any stretch, but I'm pretty good with managing my money, and I'm able to make it go farther.
It's another form of the black pill thing that we've talked about before, where people adopt the black pill because it absolves them of responsibility
100%.
For having to actually do anything good in the world.
And take your foot off the gas.
Yeah, people demonize rich people because, well, if rich people are evil, then I don't have any responsibility to try and actually improve my family's situation.
No, they look at wealth like it's finite. Like there's a pot and
pie.
someone's holding all of it and there's none left. And it's not true.
So with the masterclass, I am very focused on improving the top line. There's sort of two approaches to family finances, and books all, if you look at all the finance books, they pretty much all will fall into one of these two categories. Rarely will they cover both. Mostly they fall into one or the other. One is reducing how much you spend. This is working to a fixed income, a salary, a
That's
pension,
the barefoot
whatever it may
investor
be.
kind of
That's
deal.
that sort of stuff. Now that's important. If you don't have that under control, then making money isn't going to help you.
Yeah, you just spend what you earn.
There's so many examples of that where people's income has gone up and they've actually ended up in a worse position.
Well, it's lifestyle creep.
Yeah, so you have to have that. I'm not knocking that. But there's a finite amount of benefit you can get from that, right? If your income remains the same, you can work better within that income, but at some point it's going to suck, right? So I'm actually all about figuring out how do you increase that number. And especially this becomes vitally important as you enter a higher inflation economy. If you're on a salary, especially if you're on a pension or some sort of a fixed income, but even a salary, your increases are going to lag behind real world inflation. They'll look better than the on paper inflation. We've talked about this before. I believe real inflation is approximately double what the official inflation, the CPI figures tend to be. So if you're getting a 5% a year pay rise, actually real inflation is pushing 7%. You've gone backwards every single year. Not only that, but now you're actually playing catch up all the time.
Yeah.
Right? The inflation hits. If there's an inflation spike, you've then got to wait until the next negotiation before you can ask for the salary increase to reflect that. If you're in business, and I'm talking even the most minor micro business, you can adjust your prices in real time. Now, if you can be in the right kind of business where your capital costs have been paid already and you're not carrying debt, then actually, as inflation increases, you can chase that inflation as much as the market will allow you to with your prices, but your capital costs are still paid off. Now, again, I'm talking really small home businesses, micro businesses, sometimes service-based businesses. Lawn mowing, 3D printing. That was how I proofed my concept, was actually with 3D printing. And I've got a very specific model. It's called the 10, 100, 1000. 10 weeks, 100 hours, $1,000. Those are your limits. And you have to decide on, start up, operate, and then at the end of 10 weeks, choose whether you want to shut it down or not. But you go into it with the assumption that you're shutting it down. There's no heavy investment. There's no putting your ego on the line. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, making it a part of your identity so you can't let it go. You create a micro business that is disposable on purpose. And I go through the whole framework for that in the second month of the masterclass, because increasing your income is a critical part of surviving in a high inflation environment.
I used to teach that actually.
Yeah.
Like, I made this book like 5 years ago now. This is Six Figure Creative, when it comes back to me. And in this, I talk about doing small projects that give you a cash injection. And people go, I'm starting a business, so this is the thing. This is my life's work. I'm like, no. You can do little tiny things. And I'll give you examples of how I do it. Whether I do a lighting workshop, the AI masterclass, it could be a beginner photography workshop, or I make a book like this. These are little things that I do to either try something new and market test it. Was there a good response? Did people like it? And it's also another thing that I can be like, well, I've published 4 books now, more than Topher.
That's right.
No, but do you know what I mean? It's
but
like,
how many documentary awards have you won?
None. Oh, hang on. Have I won them because I was a producer? Do I get them because I was part of it? Anyway, he was like, damn it.
How many YouTube medallions do you have? Huh? Punk? Huh? Yeah, got you there.
It's fine. We're not going to have a pissing contest. I'll win. Anyway, but yeah, so I was trying to explain to people, I'm like, yes, you're a photographer, you do X, Y, Z. Great. But there should be little things that you can do when you need a cash injection. For example, let's say when I was mentoring photographers and they'd be like, oh, I need a new bit of kit. Because photographers always think they need a new lens. Always. And new lenses, for those who don't know, 3,000, 4,000, somewhere around there. I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is you need to spend a massive chunk of your profits, or you can come up with something that might get you $4,000 overnight.
Correct.
And you can just discontinue it.
Yeah.
So I taught that in this, and you'd be surprised how many people, like, this is literally how to do it. This is step by step. That's how I made it.
Yeah.
And I would give this book to people and they'd get like to the second, third page and then they go, oh, that sounds like hard work. I'm like, so you don't want the 4,000?
Of course it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and I'd follow up with my mentees and stuff like that. And even though I've given them a step-by-step framework, it could not be easier. Yeah. It turns out the new lens wasn't actually what they wanted because they weren't motivated enough to get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
We probably need to get to some news, but for those that are wondering, topherfield.com, you will find the masterclass via the shop, along with everything else. Please buy a hoodie so that I can turn over the stock and get a new design of hoodie in time for winter.
Speaking of agency, have you read this book by Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power?
No,
it's a goodie.
I have not.
I am rereading it at the moment, and I found this poster so I can sort of read this to you guys.
I've seen that poster.
Yeah, so this is basically, can I read it? I'll zoom in a bit.
Good luck.
So it's 48 laws of how, and even if you're not using this, it helps you understand how certain people become CEOs or in massive positions of power. And a lot of it has to do with never really showing your cards.
Sure.
Knowing when to pull things back, you're not deliberately being dishonest.
Well, there's that thing of knowledge is power.
Correct.
And so if you can extract knowledge about the other person's position whilst not giving away knowledge about yours, then you end up in a more powerful
Correct.
position.
So if it lets me zoom, there we go. Hang on. So for example, one is never outshine the master. So this is your boss. Never make your boss look stupid. You want to be favored, but also never outshine your boss.
And the number one thing that people love is being made to look good. This is relevant on social media as well. Why do people actually share things?
Because they want to look good.
Because they make the person who shared it look
Correct.
good.
It's like, why
That's
do people
actually the
share
motivation.
social justice issues?
Yeah.
Because it makes them look
Correct.
like, they care.
And the same thing is true of jokes and comedies, things that make you laugh, things that make you go, oh, and also social justice. Yay, look at me, I'm so righteous. Fundamentally, every single person is sharing those because they believe that sharing it will make them look good.
Correct. And invested.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read them all, but there's another one like, don't trust your friends, use enemies. And boy, did it take me a while to learn this lesson. The amount of friends I have employed over the years only to be bitterly disappointed or stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
And it's like when I've teamed up with people who aren't necessarily people I like, I'm not going to hang out with them on the weekend. But they had a goal, I had a goal, it was mutual, and we could work together.
Yep.
And we become very amicable because you're not losing anything because there's no friendship at stake.
Yeah. And there's you're united by a common cause.
Yeah.
That's, and okay, it's a friend of convenience. Oh, they're only working with you because they want the money. Sure, I'm only working because I want the money.
100%.
Like, just find that person.
This whole misconception about business. Dude, I'm in business because I want money.
Yeah, because I want money.
Yeah.
I want to give my kids a better upbringing than I had, and the stuff I want to do that I haven't had the chance to do yet because I didn't have the money. I want to earn money. Of course I do.
There's a few on here that might ruffle feathers, but I'll give you another one. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. And this is something I had to remind myself of recently. I'm in a bit of a funk.
Okay.
Right? And it's like I'm not depressed or anxious. There's nothing wrong. I'm just like, meh. Yeah. And I think it's because of
the lingering effect of starting to work for me.
Yeah, that's probably that. That's probably true. No. What I think it is, like, I had my master's. I was working really hard on that, and then I was doing your stuff at the same time. And I was like, that's the goal.
That was a crazy intense year.
And I had to get there.
Yeah.
And then I finished that, and then I went to Japan, and now I'm like, oh.
So post-show letdown?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and the next goal hasn't
materialized yet.
And like I do have the book Chicken in the Noodle Aisle, but it's still very abstract. There's not like this is the deadline because there's no one behind me going, we're expecting your manuscript by April. It's just me going, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
And so when I say avoid the unhappy and the unlucky, the black pillars, and I don't mean necessarily just the content creators. I mean the people like everything's fucked. It's all terrible.
Yep.
It's really taking a toll.
But also just people who are determined. I mean, victim mentality is a great example of it. But there are people who are determined to be unhappy. They could say, if I had this thing, it would make me happy. And then they get it and they're like, well, now I lose my power if I'm not, if I'm happy, I lose my power. That's where they get their power from. So even if you give them the thing that they said would make them happy, they're going to have to nitpick and find fault or shift the goalposts. There's a beautiful video that went viral. You may have seen it. There's a kid, I think it might be Christmas, and he gets given a little model, a scale model of a motorbike. And he's like, oh, this is awesome. This is exactly the motorbike that I want, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, is it the color that you want? Because it was blue. And in the background, you can see the dad, while he's distracted, the dad's wheeling in a full-size one, and it's red. And they said, is it the color you want? Oh, look, it's not the color I want, but who cares? Like, this is the bike I want, And he had this massively positive attitude towards this toy. And then his dad starts the motorbike up inside the house behind him, and he turns around and loses his mind. And it's a really beautiful moment, not because there's a kid being given a motorbike, but because you could see that the kid's attitude was so positive. He was finding things to be happy with. This was just a model that was going to sit on his shelf, but he was still like, this is exactly the right motorbike. I'm super pumped about this. And there are people who are the opposite. And if you let them into your life, and especially if you make the mistake of trying to make them happy, and I made that mistake in a previous relationship, you try and make one of these people happy, they will suck you completely dry, and there will be nothing to show for it.
Yeah. The concept of delayed gratification, apply that however you want. But I've realized that if I get things too easily, if I'm not challenged or stimulated, I resent it.
Yeah.
So I get accused of this all the time. Your ambition's too lofty. Your expectations are too high. And I'm like, look, they probably are. But if it's not, and I don't see that I'm about to go and climb Everest, it doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
What
am I getting out of bed for?
Yeah. It was like, oh, you can climb that hill. I'm like, well, I can climb it any day. Why try? Kind of thing. Anyway, speaking of hills.
I see.
Would you like to talk about Jacinta Allen quickly?
Well, Jacinta Allen. Where do we start? She is Daniel Andrews 2.0. And what I mean by that is Daniel Andrews became immune to scandal. He became immune to scandal because he'd been surrounded by the stench of corruption for so long that nothing was new.
That's why they called him Teflon Dan.
Yeah, correct. And he became Teflon Dan by toughing it out in the early days. And then because no one managed to take him out, every new scandal was just like, okay, another one. It's like someone, if another ex-girlfriend or an ex-stripper or something came out of the woodwork saying, oh, Donald Trump paid me off to silence me. Okay. Like, okay, we know, we believe you.
Yeah.
But so?
But also,
yeah. And so we've got this problem in Victoria now where everyone is so numb to corruption. We see this with the CFMEU stuff, and you've commented that you're really pleased with how angry people are. Okay, but if she doesn't choose to step down, what's the mechanism that takes her down? She becomes immune in the same way that Daniel Andrews was.
Yeah, well, this is what I find really interesting because there has definitely been a tone shift. Like Channel 7 are going her hard. I'm going to try and pull the clip. I think it's this one.
While you do that, let me comment on this. The polls are not going well. So it may well be the people of Victoria that ultimately have their say finally, belatedly, much too late. So that accountability may come. But is there going to be any official accountability for her? And if there isn't, are we just creating a culture where these people genuinely, so long as they don't capitulate, they become immune?
Well, it's interesting because Jess Wilson, the current Liberal leader in Victoria, has promised, should they get elected, they will give IBAC the teeth it needs to investigate this.
Okay.
Now, the problem with IBAC, so Jacinta Allen, just to catch you guys up, she claims that she emailed the corruption to IBAC and, she did her job basically. But IBAC replied back to her saying, we don't have the power to do this. You've taken, Dan took that away from us. Yeah. And that was it. So she gets to say, well, I did the thing I was meant to do.
Yeah.
And then, knowing full well, which makes it even more malicious.
And let's not forget, that might have happened under Daniel Andrews. Jacinta Allen was a senior member of his government.
Yeah.
She was a part of all of that.
She was part of the big build. She was head of infrastructure, wasn't she?
I don't recall specifically. Sorry, that's a loaded phrase. That's a loaded phrase.
Start to
given the topic. I don't recall. Yep.
But so Channel 7, I think this is the right one. Let's play it.
Well, a big build corruption scandal has deepened, with the state's corruption watchdog pouring cold water on the Premier's claims she acted quickly. IBAC says Jacinta Allen did refer corruption allegations last year, but never gave it the powers it needed to act.
Pressure building over the big build scandal. Asked on 10 separate occasions, the Premier refuted allegations CFMEU corruption cost taxpayers $15 billion.
These claims are not well tested or properly founded.
Jacinta Allen still refuses to test the claims herself.
Do you think $15 billion is a lot of money?
That is a figure that has been used in this context that has been found to be not well tested.
It's money backbenchers admit voters are asking about.
Do people raise the $15 billion with me? Yes, they do. And I talk to them about the steps that the Premier has outlined that we are taking.
Steps like this carefully composed letter to the state's corruption watchdog in 2024, asking them to investigate allegations on government worksites. IBAC rejected the request because it's never had the power to investigate, power it's been chasing for almost a decade, but Jacinta Allen has not provided. The opposition says it will expand the watchdog's powers.
This Premier continues to cover it up. Well, I will clean it up.
The opposition is drafting a second referral to the state's corruption watchdog over allegations Labor collected thousands of dollars in donations from bikie-linked firms, now facing police action. The Greens are pushing for a...
Ultimately, unions in their DNA, unfortunately. I'm not opposed to unions ideologically as long as they're voluntary. If it's voluntary association, hey, yeah, you can get together as a group and bargain as a group as long as it's voluntary. But unions, by their nature, they get more power if they have more members. Their power is threatened by non-members. Even historically, when unions first began to appear, we saw them using violence, and then we saw the union breakers using violence, and people literally got killed in those particular conflicts around New York City and around the early Ford motor plant and that sort of stuff. Unions gravitate towards being protection rackets. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. And once they find a sympathetic government, like the Daniel Andrews government was, they can end up getting a real lock on industries. And they end up in a position where they can actually start to hold the government hostage. We saw the exact same thing during the John Cain era when he was the Premier of Victoria, and that happened with the MUA.
The painters and dockers.
Painters and dockers, was it? It was the dock workers. Union, and I just remember it was an MUA here to stay. I remember that was all the
painters and dockers was the big scandal. So let me pull it up. Painters and dockers.
Because didn't he have to? He got the police involved on the docks because they tried to basically picket it and blockade the docks. And then didn't he get in non-union workers and just start the cranes again? And that's what ultimately broke.
You are asking someone who wasn't even in the country at this time.
I don't actually remember it clearly enough to be sure, but it was something along that line.
The Federated Ship Painters and Dockers Union scandal of the 1970s and 1980s involved widespread corruption.
Okay,
that's before that.
Yeah, that's before that. Yeah. So 90-something was when, late 90s, 98, 99 was when Kennett came to power, and that's when that all happened with the MUA.
So just to bring up the Painters and Dockers one, just because I've got it in front of me, this was 70s and 80s, and it was 15 murders, drug trafficking, and industrial-scale tax fraud. The Costacan Royal Commission exposed that the union operated as a criminal syndicate, recruiting hardened criminals to run rackets on the Melbourne docks. Yeah. Guys,
this
it's just history repeating itself.
Correct. So it happened again in the docks. Jeff Kennett had to break that, and now it's happened with the CFMEU. And they've held the government hostage. The government's not spending their own money. We've talked before, and I won't go through it in detail, but that thing of if you're spending your own money on yourself, you're worried about both the price and the quality. If you're spending somebody else's money on somebody else, the boss's money on some gift for whatever, you don't really care about either the price or the suitability or quality of the gift. Neither of those things matters to you. The government is spending other people's money on infrastructure, but it doesn't actually care about the infrastructure. What it cares about is the politics. All politicians are the same. So actually what they're buying is political peace. And they're willing to buy that at any price because it's not their money.
Yeah.
So we saw the union inject itself into a position where it got control over these work sites through coercion, in my opinion. They got control over the work sites. They could hold the government over a barrel because holding up these big build projects was going to look bad for them. And so they extracted and, in my opinion, extorted illegally, using standover tactics, essentially, an enormous amount of taxpayers' money into their own pockets.
100%.
So what will happen, though, and this is where Jacinta Allen is playing the politics very cleverly there. She's like, oh, that's an untested number. It's an unproven number. If you were to go through and itemise where this $15 billion has gone, well, it's gone in. Well, that's what they had to be paid, and that's why they needed the extra workers to be able to hold the lollipop signs to control the traffic, and they needed the thing, and they needed that, and
they deserve a fair wage of $10,000 per weekend.
Yeah, that's right. We have to pay them $50,000 to work on a public holiday long weekend. And it's all going to appear to be like, well, we negotiated with the government. The government agreed to all. This isn't corruption. But as I've said for a very long time, corruption in Australia happens in plain sight. It's not done with brown paper bags. It's done with deals that are on the public record.
But the corruption's allowed because as a nation, we are somewhat apathetic to politics.
Very much so.
And I think this is like, I've said agency 4,000 times. It'll be a drinking word soon. But the thing that I'm hoping to inspire with people is like, I know we can't fix them on this big grand scale.
Sure.
But in that reel I played on Monday, I'm talking about the fact that us turning away from it, no longer falling for the trap, no longer giving into it, you can actually start to reclaim this stuff. Because the Allen government and the Andrews government had the power they did because Victoria was like, no, they're the right people.
That's right. So can we move to the polls?
Yes, I've got Carlz Samaras here.
Yeah, okay. Because this is really encouraging. Read this.
So for those who don't know, just in case you haven't heard us say it before, Carlz Samaras is ALP aligned, but he's actually a fairly accurate pollster.
Redbridge polling, I think, is really good at analysing what's going on the left. I think he has a lefty's view of the right, and I think he gets that pretty badly wrong in terms of people's motivations. But
he's blinded by his bias.
But his polling is detailed and tends to be pretty good.
Yeah. So it's more so his polling's accurate, but the way he dissects the polling is incorrect. Yeah. So I won't read the whole thing, but he's basically said that Victoria just dropped into a multi-party normal. The latest Resolve poll, personally, I think that One Nation might find higher. The One Nation vote might be higher, and its impact on the coalition a touch more significant, but we need to watch the trend closely. We are certainly no longer a two-party contest. It's multiple blocks competing for different geographies. What this looks like at a seat level. So middle ring mortgage belt metros. With Labor in the high 20s, these seats become messy three-way fights. It's the Libs versus ALP with a chunky other vote that can decide who even makes the final count.
That'll often be Greens in those inner city metro seats,
A modest Liberal lead statewide doesn't automatically translate into clean seat pickups if the anti-government vote fractures. One Nation here is likely to cause the coalition problems, hitting its primary where it can at least afford it. Then you've got the outer suburban, peri-urban. One Nation is at 11% or higher. Statewide is the big structural disruptor. In 2022 terms, it creates unexpected marginals, not just by polling from the coalition's right flank, but by turning some Labor-held outer seats into contests where the final two can be Lib versus One Nation or ALP versus One Nation, depending on the local composition. Regional and provincial, this is where fragmentation can rewrite the map fastest. If One Nation is 11% or higher, they will be polling well into the 20s here and in some seats the 30s. This will cause significant pain for the coalition, but I would not rule out it's hurting Labor in one or two seats either. But the 17-seat problem and why the old rule book doesn't apply. On paper, to win 17 seats and form government, the coalition historically needed a primary in the 40s or close enough because the contest was basically two parties with preferences tidying up the rest. But we're no longer in that environment. In a fragmented field, the coalition's pathway isn't to get to 45, it's get in the final two more often, even on low 30 primaries, because the vote is split. And manage preference flows in seat-specific contests that now widely between Greens, Independents, Other and One Nation. In their 30% primary is most in the wrong places, as is surging some seats and not others that matter. The balancing act becomes impossible. So bottom line, this poll says that Victoria is entering a seat-by-seat electoral lottery where the decisive variable is who comes second and where that same statewide primary can produce radical different seat outcomes depending on local fragmentation. When we're looking at this poll here, if I make it bigger, we have got the Victorian primary vote by demographics. The ALP sitting at 28%, which I would argue is incredibly low for ALP.
For ALP, that's astonishingly low. Yeah, it's one of their worst.
And obviously they get the Greens votes, so that's add 12%. You've got the Liberals sitting at 30%. Now, obviously, there's an upswing with Jess Wilson. And I think the CFMEU stuff...
The CFMEU stuff has definitely played into that.
But One Nation sitting at 11%. Independents, which is a combination of Teals and, libertarians and all sorts and socialist parties. And then Other is all the randoms that make up the fragmented seats. These are usually like shooters and fishers, sex party, it's not, the cannabis party, all those people, right?
Who? The
others?
The others includes all of them. But... That's very fragmented. That's a whole bunch of other like 1% and 0.5%. And, your libertarians, for example, are buried inside those others. Now, what I'm just looking up here is there is a bill trying to change group voting tickets. So in Victoria, this is the one jurisdiction, correct? This is the one jurisdiction where we still have a thing called group voting tickets where it's actually true that the parties direct the preferences. This is a perception. People think the parties direct the preferences all the time, everywhere. Beg your pardon, in every election. That's simply not true, but it is true in Victoria. I'm not sure whether they'll get that legislation through to abolish that by this coming election. I think that's the aim. I think their intention is that this Victorian election will be the first one without group voting tickets. So it'll function the same way that a federal election does. However, what cost them, the main takeaway from what Cost was saying there is that there isn't going to be a single pathway to victory where the Liberal Party, for example, can just say, well, if we just have our preferences this way in every seat, that's what's going to work out best for us. The preference priority is going to be radically different in different seats and in different regions. And that makes all of those negotiations very, very tricky. And if they lose the group voting tickets, which I hope they do, I think group voting tickets are horrible things, and I'd be very happy to see them go. If they lose the group voting tickets, then they largely lose control over how those preferences flow. Now, One Nation, 11% statewide, I think that's like 2% in Toorak and 35% in Northern Victoria. I mean, they've already got Ricky Lee Tyrrell is a One Nation MP in the Victorian Parliament right now already. Now, she's in the upper house. It's a bit easier to win in the upper house. I think One Nation will pick up more upper house members, but to actually get from an 11% statewide average to winning any lower house seat is a big, big ask. To see them do that, that would require support of, let's say, 30%, and for them to have come over the top of the Nationals or the Liberals, and to then attract a lot of those preferences. It could happen. I'm not saying it won't. And obviously the election is still 10 months away, 9 months away. So there's a lot of time left for One Nation to gain more ground. But I wouldn't be going into this election saying One Nation's going to take over the Victorian government. I think this is a genuine case for One Nation taking the balance of power in the upper house. And maybe, if they're lucky and the chips fall where they, in the right place, and the preferences and the how to vote cards from the other parties are all aligned correctly, they might get lucky and pick up 1 or 2 lower house seats.
Something that I was trying to explain to everyone on Monday as well, when you talk about the women vote and things like that, not to go back down that path, but when you're in an echo chamber, like we are here on our podcast, you guys all agree with us, which is lovely, and we love you. Keep watching.
Yeah.
But we fall into a trap of thinking that we're right and everyone else is an idiot. And it's lovely to, point the finger and pick on some low-hanging fruit at times. But if you underestimate your opponent, this is why we lose.
Yeah.
And so we can sit here and say we have the better policies, we're smarter, we're more attuned to what we need and all that sort of stuff. That's really great. And pat yourself on the back. But if you can't communicate that in a way that is so simple and so succinct that we start recruiting more people, we're never going to win. And what I was trying to explain the other day, when we talk about sexism, I just want to finish this point. We can sit there and go, it's blame the women, right? They've been radicalised, it's feminism, and that falls into your Greens and your socialists and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Yes, I agree with you unequivocally. But how do you win them back? Probably not by being a sexist prick.
Yeah, and this is something that's actually a part of basically all of my work, except when I'm in a really trolly mood. Sometimes I am a bit of a dick, but I try not to be. All? And so my work is calibrated to try and shift people's position. Other people's work is calibrated to gather a tribe of people that already agree.
Yes.
Now, no matter what you do, you are overall going to gather a tribe of people that already agree with you. That's human nature. But the way that you do your work will dictate whether or not you convince anyone of anything.
Yeah.
And I see no value in gathering a tribe of people that already agreed with me. I see value in getting people that don't quite agree with me to agree with me. Or people who completely disagree with me to go, maybe he's right about that one thing.
That comes back to the whole enemies and friends thing, because it's great to be surrounded by friends, but when you need them, friends can disappoint you. And I talk about the echo chamber in the sense that if you're not saying what they want you to hear, then they go, I disagree with you, whatever.
And that's where audience capture comes in. If you're just doing it to gather that tribe, well, then you have to keep the tribe happy.
It's actually really healthy to say things that your audience goes, no, I don't agree. Yeah. And that's good.
No, I don't agree with that.
Great.
Excellent.
You're in my house, so I can kick you out.
Yeah, that's true.
No. But so when it comes to the women vote, right, people underestimate how important this is, because Gen Z and millennials are the biggest voter bloc. And unfortunately, there's more women than men. So whilst you can say these people are woke retards and feminism's terrible, and you can say all that, and I'll agree with you most of the time, saying that to their face and doubling down and insulting them doesn't sway them to come vote for us. They're not going to suddenly wake up because you insulted some low-hanging fruit and they go, how was I so blind?
Wow, that was a real zinger. I guess I'll vote for One Nation now.
I guess now that you've shamed me, I will come and... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the One Nation thing, people bring up Pauline all the time. Oh, she's a woman. Look at how terribly she has been treated her entire career.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a woman with the wrong political beliefs. Therefore, she is seen as a demon.
Yep, 100%.
So, we need to be more aware of our opposition and how they think and play a more strategic game, I believe.
Well, that's Victoria. Where shall we go next?
All right, so you have this Carlz-splain.
Oh, this is great. So you might have seen this going viral. This is Jared Holland from the Page Research Centre. I've met him a couple of times. He's involved with ARC. He's one of the good guys in the world. Genuinely, annoying because he is,
He's a bit of a hunk.
He's not bad looking.
Yeah.
No homo. He's not bad looking. He's very, very intelligent. You'll see he's articulate. And he's across his topics.
And he's nice.
And he's actually a lovely human being.
Trifecta.
No, and it's horrific.
We hate those people.
I hate his guts, but I have to respect what's happened here. So this is another cringe moment. This is going to be a little bit like the Katy Gallagher one, but I want to play this literally all the way through. It does go for about 2 minutes, but it just gets worse and worse.
I'm going to play it and I'm going to run to the ladies' room because I have been
coal-fired power
betrayed.
stations in this country are still making money because we've squashed out the middle, and essentially what's happened is we plummet.
They're costing us money because they keep breaking down. And then we're having to use gas or something expensive to kind of back up energy. That's costing a lot of price volatility.
No, the volatility is the fact the sun goes down every day at about the same time, and there is a huge
There's things
gap.
called batteries that Australians have embraced in droves.
Senator, can I explain that a system is very different to a market? So the way a market works is it's not just the cost of generating the electricity that feeds into the price, it's also the demand for that electricity and its availability. So what happens is when the sun goes down and you have that huge reduction of electricity from the grid, it goes down at the same time that everyone comes home from work, they turn on their TV, they put on their washing machine, they put on their microwave, you still have that increased, if anything, a spike in demand. Now that power has to come from somewhere. Now if I've got a battery that only operates for half an hour a day, and it's cost me tens of millions of dollars in order to produce, I have to make back the costs of my capital expenditure in that very compressed window. And because there isn't any other electricity in the market, I can charge whatever I want. Now, batteries set the price over 23% of the time last year, despite producing less than 2% of the electricity in the market. So introducing these technologies that only operate in tiny, weeny increments does not suppress prices. It creates the volatility.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. But I think the sticking point here is that $82 per megawatt hour figure that you're talking about is not the levelized cost of energy, because you're not. That's the cost once the plant has been either built or refurbished, which honestly, figure, I've got to say, is a fantasy. So it ain't going to happen.
I would encourage you to go to our report that we produced in January 25.
In other words, do some research.
Actually, it goes into that includes paying off capital expenditure. It includes a 7% return for investors. It includes the calorific value of the coal.
I don't see investors
it includes operations and maintenance.
Path to our door to refurb our clapped-out coal-fired power stations.
All she's got is talking points.
They're not beating a path
government
to our
policy
door.
to shut them down.
But thank you.
And then she shuts the whole thing down.
Can I just say, that's how you know you're winning, when someone gets so antagonistic like that and she keeps trying to, the fingers.
All she's got is the talking points, the stuff that if she said it in front of a Greens audience, they'd be like, yeah! But no one actually in that audience knows what they're talking about. I want to come back to a very specific thing that he said. I didn't know this until I watched this video. So I'm assuming that you guys are kind of familiar with the bid stack. I did a video on it using my poker chips, showing how the energy market bid stack works in very brief terms. What happens essentially is we need a certain amount of energy on a certain day, and they go to market and say, who's going to give us the cheapest energy? And so there's some really cheap energy there. Let's say the sun's up and solar's producing lots of energy, and that, they're flogging that off for not a lot of money. So they buy that first. Actually, they're required. It's a bit more to it. They're required to actually take that first anyway. And then they go, right, well, we don't quite have enough. We'll take some wind because that's instant energy. It's there. It's right now. And they're kind of required by all the renewable energy targets, et cetera, to take that. But it's not quite enough. So now we need a little bit of coal. Okay, so the coal-fired power stations, no problem. The coal-fired power stations have no problem covering the remainder. Now, the way the bid stack works is that every single unit of energy is paid at the price of the most expensive unit of energy used. In this case, in that example, coal. So that entire stack is getting the coal price. But then the sun goes down and the wind stops blowing and people turn on their air conditioners because it's a hot night. And now your coal isn't enough. And so now you have to add some gas. But now all of it's being paid the gas price, including the coal. Even though the coal is actually cheaper, they all get paid the highest marginal unit. Now, the most expensive, by some margin, form of energy is battery backup. But I've discussed this before in my videos. It is in the energy producers' interests to need battery backup. Because then the entire bid stack gets paid that ridiculously high price. So that cheap coal that is still the foundation of the system, they're not being paid the coal price. They're costing us, they're being paid the battery price. They are making bank every time those batteries have to kick in. Now, I had never stopped to look at how often that is. But according to Jared Holland, whose research I would trust more than my own on this topic, he just said 23% of the time.
That's
so 23% of the time, we've got batteries doing sweet fuck all. Like they're putting nothing into the system, but as long as they're there, everyone in the system gets paid. Everyone in the system is making bank because they're being paid an extortionate price even for their cheap electricity supply.
And the good news?
Well, there isn't any, but this stuff, this is why I do what I do. And this is why I try to take the complex and make it simple. Because a simple detail like that, him saying 23% of the time it was batteries setting the price. For me, because of what I know, because of 17 years in this game, I go, whoa, hold up. That's massive.
Yeah.
For whatever her name was, the senator there, she couldn't even comprehend the most basic functionings of the market.
Yeah.
And so we've got those people leading the country.
Yeah.
We have a media that do not have an interest in actually educating the voters so that they pick better people to lead the country. And then you've got people like Jared Holland who, I'm going to reach out to him and ask him to come back on the show to talk about this because it's such a crucial thing. We've got the wrong people in charge of the country, and the people who could make the difference, the media, are not.
Yeah. I think there is a shift in the media. Not that I'm a big fan of mainstream media by any stretch, but there's definitely been a shift.
You'd have a barbecue with Paul.
I'll punch him in the face. I hope you see this one day, Paul, and you understand. I'm looking forward to that day.
Paul, I think you're all right. You were always decent to me. So
oh, you weren't there when he
No, I wasn't. I wasn't there. But he was always decent to me.
No. But with mainstream media, I think I've made this point before, they have competition for the first time in a really long time. 100%. Independent media.
And it's us.
Yeah, citizen journalists, people like us who are getting particularly interested in certain topics and they deep dive. Now, when it comes to mainstream media, they don't have the resources to do that for every single topic.
Yeah.
So they're looking for things that will obviously help them get clicks, more ad revenue, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And now I think it's the first time where there's going to be really robust media cycles again because it's like, well, hang on a minute, I want to do this. I want to bring this to you.
Yeah.
And there used to be a time where institutions, in America, you had the New York Times, who used to be a really good...
were they the front page of the world? Is that what they called themselves?
Yeah,
yeah.
They were the ones that you were like, when they've done the story, you know
it's true.
They've got journalistic integrity. Unfortunately, they all suffer from Trump derangement now.
Yeah.
Anyway, a little story, a little tangent. It's not a tangent,
sideway.
but a little sideway. No, it's not a tangent. No, sorry. Relax. I saw this the other day in the AFR that Gen Z is more likely to leave cities than baby boomers. So I'll just read this quickly. Nearly half of Generation Z may consider moving out of major cities and into the regions, including Madeline King, 21, who says the cost of housing in Brisbane is too unaffordable for her. New research has shown that the migration trend of younger people moving to cities has been reversed due to low wages and the increased cost of living. Gen Z's top reasons for a regional move are cost of living, cheaper housing, and living closer to nature.
And being able to move to Albury, obviously.
Meanwhile, 64% of baby boomers surveyed say they are planning to stay in their city, with proximity to healthcare and isolation from families the biggest reasons for not moving. Overall, 1 in 3, so 37% of adults living in capital cities say they would consider a move to regional Australia.
Do it. Hurry up.
As I said before when we opened the show, I went to uni for 4 years.
Down in the Bull.
Down in Warrnambool, and I loved it. I had a great time. The only problem was it was 5 hours to get back to my family.
That is a downer, yes.
But then, I used to catch a train or whatever, and you kind of just accept that's your normal. You don't really think of it. That becomes like, it's...
Today's just a work day for me. I spend 9 hours in the car, but it's just a work day.
It just becomes your normal.
Yeah.
But when I lived in Warrnambool, I didn't get a car until the last year I was there. So I used to walk
Had they
everywhere.
been invented yet?
They hadn't. Well, I mean, they might have been, but back in the dark ages.
Australia, yeah.
But yeah, so in Warrnambool, we used to walk everywhere. Obviously, I partied a lot down there, all that sort of stuff. I have really fun memories. Would I move back? No, because I want more from my career.
Yeah, sure.
It might be a little bit easier now, but being close to an airport for me is really important.
Sure. I can see mine from my house.
Yes, but do they fly to Japan from there? No, they do
not directly, no.
Correct.
But I mean, by the time I've gotten to my airport and flown to Melbourne Airport, it's taken me less time than you driving to Melbourne Airport.
I'm yet to see that to be true. Anyway, but yeah, and then I lived in Geelong twice. First time was 6 years, and then the second time I was there during COVID. I was down in Torquay Way for 2 years. I noticed a couple of things though. So I lived in a place called Armstrong Creek, which is like 5 minutes from Torquay, but it's 15 minutes from Geelong.
Yeah.
And I used to say that I lived in Torquay because no one fucking knew where Armstrong Creek was, except for Melissa, who lives there.
Yeah.
You do now.
Yeah.
Hi, Melissa. But when I moved there, it was a new development, and you'd say that, they're like, oh, where's that? You say Torquay, everyone knows where you are. But the Torquay people, the new Torquay people, right, not your old school surfers, your new Torquay people would be like, she's saying she lives in Torquay and she doesn't, as if it's like some level of prestige.
Creek.
You're actually in Armstrong Creek. Ew, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so during COVID, Armstrong Creek was somewhat affordable, but COVID incentivized so many people to move there. I'll give you an example. When I first moved there, it was end of 2019, and I moved into a brand new housing estate that was full of those like Metricom Simmons homes.
McMansions.
And there was like 100 properties I could choose from. I had my pick of the bunch as a renter, and I think I was paying it's like $400 a week or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a 4-bedroom house, 2 living rooms, double car garage. By the time I left, my same house, once I left, the rent that I was paying, I think it was $410, went up to $630, and you could not get a rental in that area in 2 years. And families were moving in, everyone was rushing. So the second I decided to move, my real estate agent had an inspection the next day and it was gone.
Yeah,
Gone. And I was like, isn't this crazy? And so now living in there is like seen as like a prestigious thing because it's actually hard to get in there.
Yeah.
So suck that, all you Torquay losers. You pay all that extra money to go live like 5 minutes closer to the beach and you still have to drive there. Anyway, sorry, that's the whole point. But my point is,
I couldn't tell.
When it comes to regional cities and stuff, unfortunately places like Torquay became super yuppie.
Yeah.
And during COVID, I'll give you an example of the way they used to think. You know, when we had the Ring of Steel, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't go to Geelong, which is so bizarre. Still don't understand it. But Torquay people literally had signs and were like, you cannot come here. Like, fuck off. Go back to the city. We don't want you here. Meanwhile, most people that own houses in Torquay were holiday homes.
Yeah,
they lived in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But what they were doing was changing their address so that their license said that they lived in Torquay. And so it's all just stupid.
Yeah.
It's all just stupid. This is just groupthink from people. But yeah, regional centres, you can be a bit cliquey, can be a little bit...
It's because we're superior.
You're not.
Yeah, no, we definitely
Having
are.
said that,
those Torquay people had a point. I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
Did they? I just find it so, like, what's your postcode? Like, the equivalent in Melbourne is Richmond.
I don't know of anyone around me that thinks like that at all. But one of the things that I appreciate enormously is similar to what you've expressed about being here. There is a sense of stepping back in time where you do see your neighbours a bit more. The pace of life is a little bit slower. I discovered, we live 7 minutes from everything, nothing more than 7 minutes away. And so I can go down to the supermarket and you think, it's going to be a really quick trip. I can get in, get what I need, come back, and it'll literally be less than 20 minutes. It'll be 15 minutes. But then you always bump into someone.
Yeah, it's never 20 minutes.
And you end up having a chat.
Yeah.
And so it still takes an hour to go and do a shop. It's just that 40 minutes of that spent talking.
A big part of me living where we are now is I want it to be walking distance to things. So walking distance to a supermarket's very nice. Walking distance to a coffee, walking distance to the beach.
Yeah.
And this is the best I've had in recent years. And I love this little area because it's...
So what you're saying is you want to live in a 15-minute city?
No, I just want things there so I can go and enjoy them without having to drive all the time.
Yeah.
The problem with, like, say, your Bayside, I would argue that Melbourne, I'm sure Sydney's the same. I know Sydney is the same because you have North Side and then you have the South and people don't go other places. It's the same here in Melbourne. Like, no one crosses the river.
Yeah.
Both sides of the river vehemently hate each other.
Oh, you will move south of the river as soon as you can, won't you? That's literally what someone said to my dad. He was working at Channel 10 back in the day. When he first moved to Melbourne, I was about 3 years old. They found out he had a family and he'd moved to Preston. And he literally, this person, just with the greatest sense of disdain, just said, "Oh, you will move south of the river just as soon as you can, won't you? You can't raise a family up there."
Oh, fuck. Who are these losers? It's like when people, do you know what? Here's a tangent. I'll give you a tangent.
Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time.
Are we going to make all 200 people do that
We
on
are
Saturday?
definitely doing a sing-along. We are doing a spirit fingers and everything.
If you don't do the dance, I'll be so angry. So angry, and we'll do it again until you get it right.
I can't hear you!
Like Chinese military camps. You will do it synchronized. So, a little while ago, a girl that I was working closely with, a very ambitious girl, we had a falling out over something else, but that's not relevant until I tell you what she said. So she had a really big group of people around who were very diverse ethnicities. You know, you had some Africans, you had some Italians, you had her, she was Chinese, like all these different people. And we were all Aussies. We all spoke like Aussies.
Sure.
But, you know, they identified as, you know, I come from here, I come from there, whatever. And then there was old mate Carlz, who literally is the only one of us who actually didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
Right? I actually grew up overseas.
Okay.
And, I mean, until I moved back to Australia.
Yeah.
And so a comment was made. And at the time, I just sort of brushed it off. But the comment was made that I was quite bogan.
Oh.
Right? So all of these people who had spent their entire lives living in Australia and growing up in Australia, but because they looked ethnic.
Yeah.
They looked at me as if I was the bogan because I was the white Australian, right? And it was sent like in jest. But now I look back, I go, actually, that was a pretty nasty thing to say to me. And I find it really funny how we, you know, because I grew up in Sunbury as well, right? So Sunbury, for those who don't know, it's west or northwest-ish.
Yeah, northwest-ish.
Would you call it northwest-ish?
It was definitely considered to be pretty Darrow for a long time.
Yeah, and there was definitely parts that were Darrow, and there was definitely parts that were really nice. But what's funny is in Sunbury, this is just the group mindset, this is what I'm trying to point out. In Sunbury, there were parts of Sunbury that were fancy.
Oh, yes.
Like Sherwood.
Yes.
Or Jackson's
nice.
Hill.
Hey.
But if you lived off Elizabeth Drive, you were a Darrow.
Goodness.
If you dared live, was it Coonawarra? Goonawarra.
It's like living in a Martin Luther King Jr. Drive area in any US city.
Yeah.
Like that's the poor part of town.
100%. It's hilarious. Like, oh, you live in Goonawarra. Ew. I mean, it might have changed now. This is like literally 30 years ago. But now it's like when I say to people, oh, you know, I went to school in Sunbury, they're like, really? Like, you are a bogan. What does that mean?
What does a bogan mean?
No, I know what a bogan is, but like when you're at a point where you're deciding to carve people up in certain ways and calling someone a bogan, it's meant to diminish you. It's meant to make you feel poor.
Sure, and yeah, I could criticize it. But
sorry, am I bogani?
I could criticize it, but then again, I'm the kind of person who will describe someone as being a bit preppy, a bit private school, and I do not mean that as a compliment. So I'd be a hypocrite to really say that, you know, when you're calling someone a bogan is a bit wrong. Well, I kind of do the reverse.
Yeah, see, I don't do this. I don't classify people that way. I can really ham up the bogan if I want.
Sure.
And there's definitely moments where I lean into it in jest and have a bit of fun. But also when I'm in a corporate capacity or I'm in a professional capacity, I can do the whole silver spoon, you know, private school girl shit too.
I tend, like, I've got a specific person in mind who they are the person that I have most in my life described as suffering from having gone to a New South Wales Sydney private school,
a Mosman private school,
and it's kind of printed all over him this inability to conceive of a world where you're not surrounded by money and power and influence, and therefore a massive overestimation of his abilities. And that's shown in the performance of what he's been entrusted with large amounts of money to do some pretty important stuff in this country in a private capacity, not in a government capacity, and he's flailing. And it's been years and he's still flailing. And it's not pretty. You know, I hope the investors get out of it okay in the end, but it's not pretty. From the outside looking in, you're like, this looks like a money pit to me. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, but you went to a private school. You were told all your life that you were special, that you were amazing, that you could do anything, that you could this, that you could that. And what you needed to do was spend 20 years understudying under somebody else, getting their shit kicked out of you.
And they still
every
care
time
that they went to such and such school.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh, where'd you go to school?
And the key thing with him, the way I describe him, is he understands the price of everything and the value of nothing.
Yeah. So on that, I want to switch over to brand for a second and talking about Pauline Hanson. G and I had this conversation last night. The reason Pauline Hanson's brand is starting to really explode is because she's exactly who she has always said she is.
That shade of orange. It's just magnetic.
She's big red.
How could you not want to wear that colour?
But she's your grandmother.
Yeah.
She's the grandmother who had the fish and chip shop. She's a little bit bogan. She's always been from Ipswich, Queensland. And now it's getting to a point where you're like, you know what? Okay, like, so you think back 20 years ago, she was called a racist and a redneck and all that sort of stuff. And like, and these are all the people who went to the private schools. More educated than you. I know more. I went to this school. Pauline Hanson, she's like, I had a fish and chip shop. You know that people come on, they're like, where did you grow up? What school did you go to?
But the thing is now, those people have had their turn.
Yeah, and they fucked it up.
Yeah, they've been running the country for the last 30
Correct,
years.
And it's old mate Bogan, Pauline, they call her a redneck.
VN Bogani 1.
Yeah, shout out.
VN Bogani, yeah.
Hope you're coming on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. With your VN.
Yeah. But like, you look at Pauline, it's like, so the reason I brought this tangent time up is I was called a bogan as a pejorative. Like, she's a bit bogan. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also probably the most relatable. And I'm also the one that's not suffering under some grand illusion that because I had this in proximity to that I'm more important than I am.
You deserve,
I have no issue with the fact that people go, oh, she's a bit bogan. Yeah.
But also,
okay.
That sense of entitlement that comes, like with the people saying, oh, she's a bit bogan, that kind of a put down, that's exactly what Hillary Clinton did with her deplorables comment. And so,
how did that backfire?
That's right. And so for bogans to kind of turn around and go, well, yeah, I'm bogan. And actually, given your track record, non-bogans, of running this country into the ground.
Yeah, fucked it.
I think it's time for the bogans to shine.
100%. Speaking of bogans, Pauline Hanson has been in the news. So we're going to go into some inflammatory topics.
Ooh, excellent.
We are going to talk about the ISIS brides. Before I go into this article, what's your quick opinion in like 2 sentences?
So we can't simply deny repatriation to Australian citizens. That's not how citizenship works. So if they're not dual citizens and they are only Australian citizens, then we have an obligation to bring them back into the country. I think we have an obligation to then prosecute them on the basis of any crimes that have been committed. But where it gets tricky is, well, there are going to be individuals where they haven't committed any crimes. They went over there, they got married, they had kids, quite probably suffered, and now they've come back. So at that point, what are we prosecuting them for? Is it a thought crime? Is it a aiding and abetting the enemy? Like what's the actual crime at that point? So there are going to be some that are clear cut. They're either not Australian citizens or they're dual citizens, and we could just cut them loose. Yeah. And I would encourage that to be done in as many cases as possible. Where they are Australian citizens, we have an obligation to let them back into Australia. And I think we then have an obligation to prosecute them to the full extent of the law. But not beyond that point. This is one of those tests. This is one of those moments where, we could fudge things to get what we want and the sense of justice that we think is right. And in the process, we're laying the groundwork and we're setting precedents that are going to get used against the rest of us in the future.
I was thinking about this as well, and I kind of agree with you on the sense that they're Australian citizens. So I don't think that we should be spending taxpayer money to bring them over.
Oh, no.
But if they want to come back...
They can walk back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if you want to come back to the country, fine. But just understand that you will be met with the full weight of the law should you have been a criminal in any way. Yeah. But also, if they're not all on a fucking ASIO watch list where you are constantly checking in on them, not like old mate who went up and shot up Bondi because you deemed him not a risk. If these people have been married to ISIS operators, have been living in Syria and been radicalised, you better believe you will be under surveillance for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Now, some of them will have been de-radicalised by the experience. They would have got there and gone, this isn't what the brochure said.
Apparently they spent 7 years in an internment camp in Syria.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, they haven't been able to have freedom.
Yep.
They've got no money. They can't work.
Yep.
I'd argue that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. And I'm with you. If that's their situation, I don't think we're under any obligation to spend any of our money to bring them back.
No. So Pauline Hanson has doubled down on what Tony Burke has argued as inflammatory and not worthy of repeating because they're beyond reproach. But she has said that there were no good Muslims. So I'm going to just play this clip really quickly. We'll hear it from Big Red herself.
Talking about the ISIS brides. Oh, yeah. Shari, I really am so furious about this because, if the government can't answer their question whether they're going to, for privacy reasons, privacy's got nothing to do with it. We're not asking for the names. What we're saying is, are you actually going to allow them to come into the country or not? And the answer is no. And if they won't tell you now, then their attitude is, yes, we are considering letting them in the country. Worst thing we can ever do. Worst thing. I mean,
so that's her comments, and Tony Burke is very upset about it because Tony Burke is basically a ISIS jihadi himself at this point.
Okay.
Oh, he's certainly
I'll visit you in prison, Carly. It's okay.
Sorry, Karen, I don't mean it. It was a joke. It was satire. Oh my God, I'm dead. I'm dead.
The birthday party just got fun, everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, so again with this, and this is where I want to exercise caution, and this is where we piss off our audience once again.
Yeah.
Because I know the default reaction is these people should not be in the country, they're terrorists, they should never come back. But the issue is they're citizens, and you can't have it both ways. Because remember back 5 years ago when Scott Morrison shut down the borders and Australian citizens were literally locked out of the country.
And I called him out for that. I said, you can't do that, that you are breaking the fundamental tenet of citizenship. And I'm going to say the same thing in this case.
And that's my point. Yeah. So people, like, you know, I'm just kind of backing you up here. People are like, no, we shouldn't because they're the ISIS brides. I'm like, yeah, but you only say that because they're not on your team.
Yeah.
When it was the other foot, you were arguing blue murder, that it was wrong and it was against the Constitution. So, yeah, it's one of those iffy ones. I would say exercise caution, and they should be watched.
They should definitely be on a watch list. You know, I don't think that they should be on the receiving end of any aid or welfare or anything like that. But, yeah, fundamentally, sorry about that, everybody. It's kind of part of the deal. We pay our taxes and get given a thing called citizenship. Now, I have no love for that arrangement. I don't think that's a good arrangement. I don't think that such arrangements ought to exist. I view the government as roughly the same legitimacy as I would view the mafia if I lived in a mafia town, but this is the world that we live in. And so the best we can do is try and hold the mafia that runs our town to some level of accountability, to some level of consistency, to try and get some sort of a less bad outcome. And a crucial part of that is making sure that they're not making up rules for thee and rules for me, that they're simply applying the rules equally. And this is an opportunity to do that, even though I might not like it.
All right, so now I'm going to bring up a clip of our illustrious leader, one Albo. And we're going to listen to what Albo's got to say.
Look, people are quite clearly frustrated, and they're particularly frustrated with issues of government. I think trust has broken down.
No kidding.
I think devices like that one are making
can't put it down, Prime Minister.
Well, they're pushing people toward... Our algorithms push people towards extremes and towards really
It couldn't be you doing
that. Not solutions, but identifying problems.
So you're concerned about the febrile nature of debate at
Absolutely.
the moment?
And One Nation have always been about identifying problems. And a primary thing of your problem in life is because of people who don't look like you. That division that they have promoted consistently in Pauline Hanson.
Sorry, I have to interrupt. As opposed to being white and being a colonizer, that's not divisive.
Yeah, that's not divisive. But also, that isn't actually true. One Nation has said, and Pauline, if you go right back to the very letter that got her de-endorsed by the Liberal Party, right back when she first started, the way this whole shebang started, what she's talking about are the ones that are not assimilating.
Correct.
And not integrating.
She has an issue with the culture,
correct,
not the race.
Correct. And so multiculturalism is a very different thing to multi-ethnic. This is an argument that I've had to make over and over again because I'm pro-immigration, but I'm not pro-multiculturalism. Right? And a lot of people can't wrap their head around the idea that these are actually two different things.
Yeah.
So a lot of people assume that I must have a total intractable difference with One Nation's views on immigration. And the reality is, in the big picture, forget what we do right now about it. Look at the big picture. We're in complete agreement, right? Multiculturalism sucks. Multi-ethnic, no problem. Now, what they want to do about the problem, because we have a bunch of people that aren't assimilating and integrating, and we have an enormous number of people coming in, is put a complete hold on things. Now, I'm not sure that that's the right way to go, but I'm on the record saying that we need to fix the incentives. So for as long as the incentives aren't fixed, what do we do in the interim? Well, if in order to get the incentives fixed, we have to put a hold on it for a little while. I'll hold my nose and say, okay, let's do that. But let's make sure we fix the incentives and then allow immigration to happen again.
Yeah.
But for as long as the incentives aren't fixed, we're getting the wrong people. We're getting people that have no intention of becoming Australians.
This is another segue. I should probably play the rest of the clip, but I just want to give this example. So I've spoken about you know, the Indian people who have been dumping rubbish and things like that, and the man that was caught defecating on the side of the road and all that sort of stuff. And I've got quite a few Indian people who follow me on social media, and these guys hate it because it makes them everyone
look. But we talked about exactly
100%.
that. You know,
and so they've been sending me some stuff, and now obviously my algorithm's sending me more of it. It's actual Indian people in India, whether it's Delhi or out in Mumbai or wherever they are in India. It's a huge country. Showing Indians making an effort to try and get the pollution under the control, to try and clean up the Ganges, to try and stop the rubbish. And there are citizens in India who hate it. They're embarrassed by it. They want the government to do something. And so there was a clip of this Indian collective who are trying to clean up streets in their local area. And the clip is literally showing this woman dressed in full sari, a woman, a young girl, and she throws her discarded water bottle into the gutter as they're literally sweeping it up. And then they stop. This is an Indian woman does this to another Indian woman, and she's like, you know, speaking Hindi, and embarrassed the girl. And she literally walks over and like bows down and picks it up and like, you know, looks all embarrassed and walks away. And so that's where shame is really positive, because that, you know, embarrassed her and you had your camera out. But you know, there's all these photos of. I got sent a video of a water park that opened in a part of. I'm pretty sure it was India. I always sometimes worry if it's Bangladesh because I know the Bangladeshis and the Indians don't like each other and they try and conflate the two.
Well, the Indians and the Indians don't like each other. Let's not forget the caste system and North versus South and all the rest of it.
But for the sake of this, I hope it was India. I'm pretty sure it was. A new water park opened up and it was a beautiful, like Wet and Wild kind of deal. And on the opening day, you see young Indian men running around breaking things, trying to, you know, destroy it basically. Why? Who knows? I don't know. I don't have any more context to the clip.
Reason?
And what happens is a clip like that goes mega viral and then they're all like that. And then you have Indians who are looking at this going, I hate this. I want change. And so you've got to be really careful of stroking with a broad brush. Do you remember Vivek Ramaswamy, who's disappeared now? He came out in defense of the HB1 visas. And saying that, you know, a lot of the people that we're bringing in are great. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Blah, blah. This whole migration debate always gets co-opted by people who see extremes and generalize.
And only extremes. Now, it sounds like you're agreeing with Albo, though.
No, I'm not agreeing with Albo at all.
It sounds like. He was talking agreeing about with Pauline.
No, I'm agreeing with Pauline because there are extremes. He is an extreme as well.
I would agree, yes.
And so the reason I was playing this clip is because he's like literally pot, kettle, hello, talk about division. You're literally doing it right now. But Pauline Hanson, when it comes to immigration, I'm of the same belief. Multiculturalism does not work.
Multiculturalism doesn't work.
That's not to say that you can't bring your food here and open up like an Indian shop or a deli or something like that.
But that's actually the shallowest end of culture.
Yes.
Right? Culture is actually much deeper
I have to make
than
that distinction because if this gets clipped out of context.
You know, culture is about worldview. It's about expectations on yourself and on those around you. It's about how you actually engage with the world at a much, much, much deeper level. And this is the point that I make to people that want to be like white Australia, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the people that are ruining Australia aren't the immigrants. It's people with good European names like Gillard, Turnbull, Rudd, you know, Albanese. It's still a European name. Like these are good European white stock. These are the people that have completely destroyed our country. Why? Because they do not share our culture. They might eat our food, wear similar clothes, and talk the same language, but that's the superficial end of culture. At a fundamental level, they see the world a different way, in a way that is intractable. In a way that is intractably separate from ours, and separate from what I believe the true Australian culture to be, which celebrates hard work, which celebrates people that actually are there for their mates and provide, rather than, you know, wanting to be dependent and jealous and all that kind of nonsense that's so deeply embedded in their worldview. These people, the prime ministers that we've had over the last number of years, do not share our culture. At a meaningful level, at a deep level.
And you just look at this, you know, Melbourne used to be known as the cosmopolitan city. It was like the little sister of New York, right? Because we had the melting pot. Everyone always talks about the melting pot of culture.
And the indie art scene, the alleyway, independent filmmaking, graffiti art, all that stuff was an expression, that was an outworking of a very real, strong arts subculture.
Correct. But the reason that subculture and that arts precinct was allowed to thrive is because we all had the same culture, and it was we were arty focused, we were entrepreneurial, we were innovators. It wasn't the fact that we had enclaves of Indians, Chinese, and things like that. The reason the multiculturalism looked like it worked because everyone had the same values. I want to get ahead. I want to be able to provide for my family. I'm going to open a shop that sells Italian food, Greek food, Vietnamese food, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build this thing that then gets known as a local amazing spot and then grows into this massive institution. It's because the values were the same. Come here, work hard, start from nothing.
That's right. Don't be a burden.
That's a culture that's assimilated.
Yeah.
Where we don't have that is right now, like, I mean, Keysborough, for example, it's basically Little Mumbai. They're all Indians and you cannot rent as a white person over there. And they then have their own shops where only their language is on the front and they only service themselves.
Yes.
That is not assimilating.
Yeah.
That's an issue with culture.
I take issue with where they're just not even bothering to try to have Australian customers or contribute to Australians. They're just there to service other people from their country of origin. I take issue with that. But I will say there's a lot of hypocrisy in amongst a lot of the people that are very anti-immigration in the sense that they're simultaneously saying these people are just coming here for the welfare and then saying, oh, there's just Uber drivers are all Indians these days. It's like, well, you've kind of got to pick one a little bit because, you know, if you want them to get a job, well, that's one with a job. The guy that's delivering your Uber Eats is working.
Yeah.
Like, can we just acknowledge that? Oh, all the fish and chip shops are owned by Indians now. Okay. They're buying businesses. They're running businesses. Are their fish and chips any good? Let's start there. You know, do they do a good battered?
But also, nothing stopped you from owning a fish and chip shop.
Correct.
You're angry that no one that looks like you went and bought the fish and chip shop. Well, maybe because they all looked at it the same way that you did.
Yeah.
Like that's beneath them. It's too
that's
lowly.
Right. And so, from my point of view, a lot of the people that these anti-immigration people actively complain about are the people they should not be complaining about. They're actively complaining about the fish and chip shop owner, the Uber driver, the fact that I went to a doctor and all of them are immigrants. Okay, well, probably if we weren't allowing qualified immigrants in to be doctors, you'd be waiting months. Because unfortunately, we're not educating enough doctors here in Australia. We have an undersupply, and we can talk about why that is, but we have an undersupply. So do you want to see an immigrant doctor or do you want to see no doctor?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the kind of robust discussion that's needed rather than having these blanket statements. And it frustrates me because it always gets deduced down to race. And I just find it so reductive and also insulting to our intelligence.
Yeah, 100%.
But moving across.
Moving on.
I wanted to talk about Mamdani quickly because he's doing what all good socialists do.
He's your favourite person. Isn't he? Like, it's Nayib Bukele, maybe the new Japanese Prime Minister.
Sine.
And then it's Mamdani, isn't it? He's your third favourite person in the whole wide world.
No.
No?
But sure. Okay, whatever.
I'm surprised.
Segue, tangent, quick little one.
Another one.
I have got a plan to photograph Bukele when we're in the US. I might have to go to El Salvador to do it.
That's fine. How are you going to pull that off?
Well, I have got a chain of events lined up and people to start the information process. And Zuby had Bukele on his podcast. And there's a few other people who I know that are proximities to these people, and the motions are going and happening.
Okay, good on you.
No one has cock-blocked me or gate-kept yet.
Good on you.
Not one.
Okay.
So, and what I did, for anyone that wants to know, I grabbed every photo I could find of him on Google, put it all in a document, and I said, we can do better.
Yeah.
We can do better.
Yeah.
And I'll do it for free.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will fly to El Salvador for free.
And I assume you included a few of the other photos that you have done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did all that too. But I was like, we can do better.
Yeah.
Allow me to do better for you.
Yeah.
So
nice.
we'll see.
Nice.
But yeah, I've got 6 months to make that happen.
All right, so what's Mamdani up to?
Okay, so he's had to produce his budget. It's a $127 billion budget for New York. And he is floating the idea of increasing property taxes, which he promised he wouldn't do.
A socialist increasing taxes?
No.
Extraordinary.
So, for those who want to know as well, because this gets brought up a lot in the comments, I open up The Age, Politico, all the lefty ones because I want their opinion so we can argue it.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep bringing up Sky News and Fox News. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hope that's just to clarify that point. So Politico has said, Mamdani has proposed raising New York City's property taxes as part of this year's budget. The Democratic Socialist latest gambit to pressure Albany to hike taxes on the wealthy. He's unveiled this preliminary budget proposal for the next fiscal year, which begins in July. As part of the plan, he is relying on a large part of the 9.5% increase in city property taxes, which he can do without state approval, to help close a projected $5.4 billion revenue shortfall over the coming 2 fiscal years. But that's not enough. So in order to balance the budget, as he must by law, he's also proposing drawing down some $1.2 billion from the city's rainy day fund and retiree healthcare services.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Let's take it from the retirees.
The
No
city hasn't
worries.
increased property taxes since the financial turmoil in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. His proposed increase, which drew swift pushback from various elected officials, including Governor Kathy Hochul, they're all going to turn on each other, it's brilliant, would put a hefty burden on working and middle-class homeowners in the city.
Of course it would.
The Democratic Socialist mayor acknowledged the increased taxes would impact more than 3 million residents under the city, with the New Yorkers owing them having a median income of $122,000. There is nothing a socialist loves more than taking money from the people who are earning it.
Oh, yes.
I love it.
Well, I mean, this was inevitable.
100%.
His
just,
plans were not
thank you.
costed. I'm curious about this law that requires a budget to be balanced, and how do we get that to happen here?
I don't know anything about this, to be honest.
Neither do I. It's actually, I've never looked into New York City fiscal rules, so I wasn't aware of that.
You've got to wonder, though, like places like London, New York, Tokyo, all of these massive metropolises, they're basically like little countries as far as economy goes.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's a lot of things at stake there.
So here's an interesting one. The Netherlands just passed a 36% tax on unrealised capital gains. Do you know what's happened since then?
No.
The government minister, who is the architect of that plan, has been discovered to have lied about her qualifications. She has a high school certificate, and that is it. And she lied on her CV in order to get the job. And
Wait,
it kind
a
of
socialist
shows.
lie?
I know, right? And it kind of shows in her work. I got to be honest, I'm not as shocked as I should be based on the quality of her work. So I don't know what the fallout. So this is all just sort of unfolding. I don't know what the fallout from that's going to be. But I literally just released a video talking about that tax.
Did I save this? Okay, so I saw this last night. Hopefully, I saved it. It was on Instagram, and it was basically explaining capital gains. Unrealized gains tax to Gen Z.
Okay.
Oh, tell me I saved it. Otherwise, I'll just have to give you what I saw. I did. Here we go. Thank God. Okay. So unrealized gains. Sorry, I'll move that so you guys can see it. Unrealized gains tax for Gen Z. You buy a Pokemon card for $50. Someone offers you $500 for it. You say no. You love that card. You want to keep it. The government says, cool, but that card is now worth $500. You owe us $100 in taxes. And you say, but I didn't sell it. And the government says, don't care, pay up. So now, because you don't have the $100 lying around, you are forced to sell the card that you love to pay tax on money you've never received. That is a perfect analogy for it.
Yep, 100%. So in the real example I used in my video was Bitcoin. I used real actual numbers from Bitcoin. If you bought a Bitcoin on the last day of 2022, it's near as makes no difference to $25,000 Australian. Then we're ignoring 1 year, you just get to 2 years later, it's near as makes no difference to 150,000 Australian dollars. That's a $125,000 gain. Now 36% of that's going to be 45 grand, right? That's what you have to pay in tax, irrespective of the fact that you haven't sold anything yet. So you have to sell 1/3 of your Bitcoin in order to fund the tax on your Bitcoin. Then, since then, it's gone down to below 100,000, which means that you're 2/3 of a Bitcoin now, because you've had to sell 1/3 of the Bitcoin in order to fund the tax. Your 2/3 of a Bitcoin's worth around about $66,000, but you spent $25,000 on it, which means that you've got, what's that going to be? 66, 25, it's going to be $41,000. That's your profit. But you've already paid the government $45,000 in taxes. So the government has made more out of your investment
than you did,
but you took all of the risk. And that is a real world example using actual numbers from an actual asset.
I get that, but I think the Pokemon card kind of illustrates it a bit better.
Look, it cuts through for the idiots. That's fine. You know, for all
this is who we're up against.
People of your IQ and lower. I mean, and I'm told such people do exist. I didn't believe it, but apparently. No, but yes.
This guy. One of these days, man, I'm going to land one on you.
So we need a wider table, is what you're saying. We need to.
I've always wanted to. You know, in the movies, they get up and they splash the drink?
Oh, yeah. But
maybe I'll do that to you one day.
Get all over your laptop.
Oh, and then I have to clean it up because it's my bloody
That's
house.
right, it's your
Maybe
house.
I'll do it on the weekend.
Well, I tell you what, once I have my studio set up in Albury in the second half of this year and I'm making you sit in the back of a car and drive to Albury and back every single
happening.
episode, well, then you're fired.
Fired? This is my podcast.
Then at that point, you can chuck that on me because you won't have to clean it up. It'll be in my studio.
Yeah, then you'll sue me for ruining your equipment.
Oh, possibly.
It just sounds
I
very
am
messy.
that kind of person.
Aren't we all? But anyway, so Mamdani's basically doing the thing that all socialists do. But I honestly...
Who knew? Who could have predicted that?
Without going further into it, because, I mean, it's New York and it's not really us, but I can't think of a better way for things to unfold. This is exactly what we need.
Yeah,
it's exactly what we need.
They have volunteered to be the cautionary tale.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And so, in that statistic, they talked about the median household of a New Yorker is $122,000 per annum. US, obviously, but, to them. All of these people were the ones who are like, we need to tax the wealthy. I hate to break it to you, but you are it.
You are it.
You keep talking about the 1%, but there's was it like in New York, there's 100 billionaires or something like that? It's like...
So I don't know about it in Australia, but in the US, but in Australia, if you are on the median full-time, so not the average, but the median, and not just all workers, but full-time, if you're on the median full-time salary or better, you're in the global top 1%. Right, and comfortably in the global top 1%. There is not a single university lecturer out there in Australia who's a full-time university lecturer who is not in the 1%. So every single university lecturer out there who's ever railed against the 1% and taught socialism to their students and how Marxism and blah, 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 sorry, you're in the 1%.
Isn't that embarrassing?
Yeah.
Just reading this here. So Mamdani's entire campaign was built on one promise, to tax the wealthy, not people realising, like you said, that you were the wealthy.
Yeah.
The one problem is he's never had the power to do that. The decision belongs to the New York State. So New York City, New York State, right? And Albany told him no. So today he's announced that he's raising property taxes by 9.5% instead. That's huge.
So my guess is I want to see the actual percentage points. So if I go from 1% tax to a 1.1% tax, that's a 10% increase in the tax. So it's not necessarily, it might be, I doubt it, it wouldn't necessarily be a 9.9 percentage point increase. It could be a 9.9% increase over whatever the number used to be.
But think about
still
significant.
Yeah.
But think about his campaign, that there would be rent freezes.
No, granted. Yeah.
What I find is this is
but he'll freeze the rent, but he'll tax the owners.
Well, this is the thing. The landlords, if their taxes go up, they'll pass that on to the tenants.
And then they bring in rent controls and then the whole spiral starts.
Correct. I'm like, oh my God, this is all happening so quickly.
Yeah.
I thought this would be like a couple of years before we start to see the chaos.
No.
He's also raiding the city's entire emergency fund, the money set aside for recessions, disasters and federal cuts, which is ambitious given 9/11 was in our lifetime. The Sandy hurricane, or what was in our lifetime.
Well, but can I just make the point though, like it might not be a natural disaster, but New York is about to experience a disaster. So this is the time for that money to get used. I mean,
you make a good point.
It's what else did they set it aside for but socialism?
Let's see. I've got a clip here. Let's see what he says. I think he's talking about it here. Let's see. Ooh, it's going to let me play it. Hello?
Raid the rain.
Sorry. Is it this one?
Would rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years. What we'd rather do is ensure...
Yeah, I mean, it's a rainy day. It's a rainy day in New York. They've got a socialist for a mayor. That's 100%. Yeah.
Who needs fiction?
Oh, no, it's great.
When you have stories like this.
It's so good. And it always happens really fast. This is the thing that people don't understand about Venezuela. They only voted in Maduro, I think it was 2009. It was something like that. It wasn't that long ago. And then it was only a few years after that Maduro, sorry, they had Chavez. They brought in Chavez, I think, in 2009. And then Maduro got in shortly afterwards. I visited there in 2015. And in the space of like not even a decade, they had gone down the toilet. These people don't understand how fast this is. The decline.
Well, if you're not making money, you're spending it, and you can run out of it very quickly.
Well, the decline in living standards that we've seen in Australia is the steepest, the sharpest in the developed world, and that's a direct consequence of Albanese's policies and the monetary policy, the money printing leading to the inflation, all of what's been going on.
That's Scott Morrison's problem, remember?
Yeah. I mean, he certainly was no better when he was Prime Minister. I'm not defending him. But that drop in living standards is really, really real, and there is no reason for it to stop. For as long as we keep making the same mistakes, we keep getting what everyone else gets.
We do, and that kind of brings it back to, I know I was talking about clothing, but that's just a metaphor for the bigger problem here, is that we want everything, but we're not willing to sacrifice anything for it. So we've kind of planted this idea in the younger generation's head that it's all possible. Should everyone... You can have everything. If we just tax the 1%, which is most of us, we could do it, right? And so people have got this idea that, I've used this analogy before, but just to really drive this point home, you want to have the 4-bedroom house with the 2 brand newish cars, the 80-inch TV, a wardrobe full of clothes. You want to be able to order...
85-inch TV, thank you.
Oh, it's the 100 now I saw the other day. I don't even know where you put that.
That's excessive. Just only 85 inches is fine. Yeah.
It's always about the inches with you guys.
I'll 85.
Can I just finish my bloody point? Right? But you think, you've talked about like how comfortable we are now. But this is the expectation of the average person when they move out and they've got this idea in their head of the home that they want.
Yeah.
It's basically a mansion when you think about it compared to what most people in the world live in. And so you want to be able to update your car every 3 years. You want to have the big TV. You want to be able to buy clothes every week, women do, on the internet. And you're going to be able to buy them fairly cheaply and have them delivered within a day or two. And you want to have a wardrobe that's so big that you'll never actually wear half these clothes.
And you have to engage professional services to actually help you organise your own wardrobe.
Yeah. We want to be able to open up our phones and order Uber Eats and have it immediately. And the problem is, like, we talk about sustainability and everyone thinks environmental. I'm like, no, as in you cannot sustain this. This system will not work. You can't ask for everything to be cheap, quick and fast and then expect the prices...
cheap, fast and good.
Cheap, fast and good all at the same time. And then get mad when things fail or things start to go up.
The system itself can continue. That's fine. But the expectation that you can have all of that and not have to pay for it, that
was my point. You cannot have all three. And so whilst I'm seeing people going, well, yeah, we could have all that if you just tax the billionaires. So I'm like, so that's the socialist mindset. You want to be given more even though you haven't contributed.
And that money won't go nearly as far as they think it will.
So I had another clip to show you, but I won't pull it up. I'll just give you the quick analogy. It was someone reacting to an accountant's reel. So it's like one of those reaction videos. And it was a woman who was pointing out the comments on this accountant's content. So the accountant was showing that his client had earned over $745 the last financial year. $1,000. And the government had taken $345,000 in taxes. And he was saying that basically, he was trying to give you a simple analogy that this client of his had to work Monday to Wednesday for free for the government and only got to take home what she earned on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. And like, it was a very simple analogy, very well delivered. And in the comments, of course, because TikTok is socialist, was everyone going, how disgusting that she earns $700,000. She should be taxed so that she only takes home $200,000. Even then it's too much money. You know, she'd be taxed more, whatever. And basically the mindset is that because she earns more, she should be taxed more so it goes to other people. I'm like, okay, cool. And I know we've used this analogy before, but just to drive the point home, okay, so you tax this person who works harder and earns more so that she earns what you earn, and then you redistribute her income to the people who didn't earn it. Well, then why would she stay in that role?
Correct. Why would she keep working hard? You get more of what you incentivize. We see this with the NDIS. People get really upset with me when I say, yeah, you'll get more disabled people if you incentivize disability. Like, oh, people aren't going to hurt themselves. No, but they're going to decide that instead of trying to work through their pain, they're just going to go on disability. Or that they reckon they can convince the doctor that they are sick when really maybe they're not. Or that they are genuinely disabled, but if they just ham it up a little bit, they can get a whole bunch more benefits. When you create the incentive, people respond. When you take away the incentive of profit for hard work, for innovation, for risk, for the organisation of energy, that's fundamentally what it all comes down to. When you take away the reward, then yeah, you've changed the incentive. And this is where in the Soviet Union they had the joke, they pretend to pay us and we pretend to work. Because working hard didn't get you paid anymore.
No.
There was no incentive. You wouldn't come forward with ideas because innovation was dangerous. It was risky. You could get in trouble. You just wanted to keep on plodding along, doing the thing that don't stick your head up, don't draw attention to yourself. And so they ended up with Ladas and Trabants in their car sector, while West Germany was building BMWs and Mercedes and Porsches and everything else. And we saw the end result was the entire USSR, this entire supposedly global superpower, ran out of money to the point that it couldn't even just pay its own foot soldiers, and then ultimately people got unhappy and the Berlin Wall got torn down, and 2 years later the whole union fell apart. That's reality, and that's actually a relatively gentle end.
There's other ways of democratising, though. It doesn't always have to be the tax rich. This is a really good segue, and G wanted me to bring this up, and this actually fits in perfectly. So we watched Matt Armstrong, right? The YouTuber, the British guy.
Yeah.
And most recently, he has acquired... no, he didn't acquire it.
He's the car guy.
He's the car guy.
Like the McLaren P1 and some of that stuff.
No, that's Tavares.
No, okay, so Tavares had the wrecked one.
He had the P1. Matt
okay.
Armstrong does like all the Aventadors. He's had a Ferrari.
He's had a McLaren though, I'm sure.
He's had a McLaren, yeah. Not a Senna or a P1 though.
Okay. Yeah.
So a guy who was a successful trader had a top line Bugatti, right? The what's it called?
Mansouri.
No. It's the
the Chiron or the Veyron.
The fancy version of the Chiron. My God.
Oh,
it's escaping me. Hang on, Matt.
I stopped caring a little while ago. I've realised I just want a McLaren F1.
Persport. It was a Persport.
Oh,
Chiron Persport. Anyway, so this guy had it. It's a $5 million car. He bought it. Here we go. I've got it on the thing. He bought it from Bugatti. I've just combined Pagani and Bugatti.
So that's had some non-factory modifications to the front end.
Correct. It was in quite a big... accident.
An argument with the laws of physics, yes.
He got paid out by insurance, and then it went up on Copart as an auction.
Oh,
and so
Bugatti would have been furious.
Correct. And so he bought it back. So now this guy, what's his name? Alex or something. He's some day trader. He's asked Matt Armstrong to rebuild it for him. Now, this is a $5.5 million US car that's like bespoke. And I think there's only 60 in the world or something. It's very exclusive.
I don't know, but they're expensive.
And so the problem is, this is what's spectacular about it. And I don't understand how Matt Armstrong hasn't been sued, or Tavares or any of these people. But what they're basically showing you is how this elitism has actually caused the market to drop out. Like Bugatti is actually going to help themselves come to their own demise because of this. So they look at someone like Matt Armstrong and they go, ew, yuck, you're not rich. We would never sell you a Chiron. Get away from our cars. But you can't stop him from working on this car that someone's hired him to work on. And so what's happened is the CEO of Bugatti has come out saying that there is absolutely no way they'll sell them parts. It's way too dangerous because the car body is like somehow put together, the chassis and and only 5 people in the world know how to pull it apart. You couldn't possibly do it. And the problem with this Chiron is that parts of the actual frame have snapped in half.
Yeah, okay.
And so Bugatti...
So I stand to be corrected by someone who knows these cars better, but my assumption would be that the actual chassis itself is a solid carbon fibre part.
Yes and no, it's part aluminium as well. So this is a part here. So that's part of the
So it looks like the passenger cell, the carbon fibre passenger cell is intact, and they might have an aluminium engine subframe or something like that coming off the back.
Yeah, so the subframe...
G would know better than me.
The subframe and all that, they were saying that they could not pull it apart because you need a specialist tools, whatever.
Yeah.
And Matt Armstrong's like, well, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if Bugatti had just sold him the parts, this wouldn't be the story that it is. And so they're pulling apart this exclusive car, and sure enough, it's got Audi airbags in it.
Oh, it's amazing it doesn't have Ford Focus indicators.
Well, that's the Murcielago had those.
That's right.
So a bunch of things are happening, and they're showing this on YouTube. And Matt Armstrong has like over 5 million followers. So Bugatti, I've got to stop saying Bugatti. Bugatti.
VN Bugatti, you've ruined our English language.
And Pagani. But what they have done is they've actually, it's the Streisand effect. By trying to get people to not look, everyone's now looking and paying attention. Matt Armstrong was able to pull off the subframe quite easily. And all of the things they're pulling apart. So now what they're doing is, because Bugatti won't sell them parts, they're 3D scanning the parts and printing them basically, or making them. And the CEO's like, you can't do it. And they're like,
We are doing it.
But we are. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But
So
isn't it funny?
The only super exotic car that I do kind of have a thing for still, like I'm over the McLarens. The McLaren F1, the original historic one, great, but I'd never drive it because they're irreplaceable. Like it'd be a garage princess. So I want to build my own car, as you know, the kit, blah, blah, blah. But the only other brand that I am still like, oh yes, is Pagani.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't do the parts bin.
Yeah.
Down to every single hex bolt, every single Allen key bolt, etc., is made by Pagani for the Pagani.
Yeah.
Now, that's ridiculously inefficient. It's a stupid economic decision. But Horatio Pagani is a madman and a genius at the same time.
Isn't Koenigsegg the same?
No, Koenigsegg might be the same. Yeah, that's a different company. That's Christian Koenigsegg, yeah.
Please have some water as well.
But yeah, Horatio Pagani, what he's done with his cars, the original the Zonda was on Top Gear, and I used to watch all of Top Gear. And Richard Hammond had this beautiful sort of perspective on supercars, and his view was that the Zonda was what a supercar ought to be, because a supercar should make you giggle. And if you're a supercar owner, you have an obligation to make it outrageous in how it looks and how it sounds, and then to drive it down the street and let everybody take their pictures. And when you park, let them come flocking up to it to blah blah blah. It's sort of like this is your social obligation as a supercar owner. And so for him, the more giggle inducing and the more ridiculous it was, the better. And the Pagani Zonda just embodied that. You look at the interior, and it's like you're looking at the interior of a beautiful mechanical watch. Like it's all of the pieces, everything's etched and knurled.
It's the one that starts with H, the Pagani.
Huayra.
Yeah, I've seen one of those in real life, I was like,
I've seen them. Yeah, at the F1 Grand Prix in Melbourne, there was a group of them. Just phenomenal. The craftsmanship. I mean, it's a stupid financial decision. For someone like me to try and own one of these things. I'm not trying to own one. But,
on that. The more I've watched these channels and the more people I know who have Ferraris, like a friend of mine has a warehouse down here, and in there he had his collection, and he's got quite a few bits and pieces, but Zagami's out there all the time fixing the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And it's been my bucket list since a little girl to own a Ferrari. And I told him that, and I said, I want the 812.
Yeah.
You know, if I couldn't have the F40, I'll have the 812. And he's like, they just break all the time.
So there was an interesting video I saw a little while ago that actually went underneath a Lamborghini and underneath a Ferrari and just compared the welding. Now, I have no idea if this is authentic or not. I have to just take it at face value. The welding on the Lamborghini was very, very neat, very exactly what you would want welding to look like. Nothing outstanding, but good, proper welding. The welding on the Ferrari was borderline tack welding. Along instead of actually going all the way along like TIG welding or whatever it is where they go along and add material in. And it had splatter. You could see, I'm not a welder, but I know what splatter looks like.
That shocks me because I know Ferrari, if there's any kind of fault in the engine block, they will melt it back down and recast it.
Yeah.
It won't go past the floor.
Like I said, I can't verify what they showed on this video, but what they were claiming to show was a vast difference in the quality of the welding.
It's funny because having watched all these shows, I'm the kind of kid that the Ferrari F40 was always on my wall. The Countach, the XJ220, all of those supercars from the 90s.
Good era.
I lusted after those cars. I mean, let's be honest, I'm never going to own an F40 unless someone gives me one. But even now, I look at all the cars coming out. I couldn't tell you what the latest Ferrari is. Back then I could.
Don't care.
Yeah. They all start to look the same. And I've watched all the episodes with people driving. I watched an episode last night when, what's his name? Ben Collins was driving the new F80. And I was like...
Yeah, well, it's a V6, isn't it? The F80?
V6 turbo. But I'm like... This is meant to be, you've given it the F name. This is meant to blow my socks off. The LaFerrari did. That blew my socks off. But this, I was like, I'm so underwhelmed. And now it's repositioned what I want for myself and talking about goals. And it's not about because it's unrealistic to want an F40. I'm more like, what's something that would give me such a jolt every time I start it? And, I'm starting to look at other things. I've always wanted a 70s Charger.
Okay.
Just American muscle.
Yeah.
Brute force. I want And
tell you what, the current Hellcats and stuff, if you want something that gives you a jolt.
Yeah, I love the Hellcat,
Yeah.
but there's something about the 70s that I love.
Sure.
Those big hunking bits of metal. Maybe I watched a little too much Fast and the Furious. But also, like, I want a TRX because that would be my daily driver.
Yeah.
And so now the supercars, I'm like, because it's like seeing behind the veil, right? Like it's the Wizard of Oz moment where Dorothy looks behind the curtain. I'm like, these aren't aspirational to me anymore.
Yeah, and for me, that's a big part of why I want to do the whole build your own thing.
Yeah.
Is so that there's something more special about it. It's
Yeah.
like there is only one of these in the world. Yes, there are others of these cars, but there's only one that I built.
Yeah.
And put together, and for that to be my forever car. And at that point, yeah, okay, there's going to be more powerful cars, there's going to be faster cars, there's going to be better looking cars. There'll be some better built cars too. But this one's mine in a way that is deeper than just I bought it off the showroom floor.
Yeah. And there's a level of love that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like G had a customer reach out to him the other day. So I'm not going to say where G works or anything, but he works on imports. And basically, it takes...
He's a drug dealer.
He's a drug dealer. That's money laundering. People probably do money laundering through him, but he runs a clean business, so who cares? Yeah. But yeah, so basically these are project cars where people come to him and they're cars that people love. They're not Ferraris, but people go, I want you to do the thing to this car.
Yeah.
And it takes G like 12 months. He's building the engine from scratch. He's putting it all together. And he's making all these modifications. And there's plenty of other performance workshops that will do it quickly.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, because G has a lot of them brought to his workshop and he puts them on the dyno and they all just fail.
Yeah.
Things explode, things fall apart. They promise them all this power and they can't get it out of it. And then the customer gets really mad or whatever. G does the whole thing. Do you want it good, fast, or
cheap, fast, or good? Yeah.
And so he's like, we do it good and we don't do it fast.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more economical or whatever. Like you pick one.
Yeah.
And so he had this car and the customer was getting a little antsy at some point. Like, I really want my car. And he's like, I can't work any faster than I am. The second you get it. Anyway, the guy gets it and G's on his way home and he gets a phone call and he's like, oh shit, you've just picked up the car. It's been a 12-month build. And he's like, what's wrong? And he answers the phone. He's like, mate, what's wrong? And the guy's like, why would you assume something's wrong? And she's like, why else would you be calling me? He's like, well, I'm calling you to say this is the best thing ever. I'm so happy. I've never been happier. The car's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, fuck, jeez. Thank you.
Please don't scare me like that.
Yeah, basically that's what he said. Like, never call me again. Send me a message.
Yeah.
But like, there's this level of expectation now where people want everything so quickly. They want it cheaply.
Yeah.
They want it done. It's like, no, if you just take a little bit more pride in things, do it the old-fashioned way, build it up. And I think I see that in Matt Armstrong. I see it in Tavares and things like that. They're rebuilding things that we would have just cast away as junk. I mean, a Senna or a P1's not junk.
Yeah, but it's astonishing that the companies want you to treat it that way.
Yeah.
They want you to treat it as a disposable.
Yeah.
So when McLaren sold the F1, now this was, I'm going to get this wrong and people are going to eat me alive, like 1991, I think it was. It was somewhere in that era, I think.
It was around the era of the XJ220 and
it was in that same bracket. They made a certain number of them, but part of the deal was that was the number that was always going to exist. If you destroyed it, they would take the chassis back, and even if they had to replace the chassis, 92 was it? Not that far out. They would literally, that car will live forever. Because even if you ram it into a wall in a high-speed crash in a racetrack, now that hasn't worked out to be true in practice, but that was the idea. This thing is we have made this thing, and it will live forever because we will be here to keep it alive under all circumstances. And now it feels like a lot of these supercar manufacturers, including McLaren, are just like, oh well, throw it away.
Well, it's funny you say that. One of G's clients has a 720S, I think it was, and the gearbox shut itself, and McLaren's like, yeah, you're just going to have to buy a new one. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It hasn't even got 1,000 Ks on it.
Yeah,
and they're like, oops.
Yeah.
And so, when you watch Matt Armstrong and things like this, they're like, the price is so overinflated because they can. The brand's so strong. Whereas, that tells me there's so much opportunity there as well.
Yeah.
You can create something that has value. I don't need it to be attached to Ferrari or anything like that.
But these companies also create their own sort of internal protection racket where, for example, a Ferrari, you buy a Ferrari, sell it within less than 12 months or give it away. This is why Mr. Beast always gives away Lamborghinis. You get blacklisted. You'll never buy another Ferrari again. And so they've got such brand strength that they can turn their own brand into a brand protection racket.
Well, Ferrari will debadge your car if you do something to it that they don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, still on the arts and culture thing, there's two things I thought that were worth bringing up. One is AI. So we've got 20 minutes. Do you want to talk about AI, or do you want to talk about woke politics in the arts sector? Or should we talk about both?
Goodness, both sound like death warmed up.
Let's talk about this one quickly, because I have made a point of this, and it's only part of me now that the news or the mainstream media are talking about it so openly.
Yeah.
I told you guys, change is in the air. If anyone has followed me for the last 5 years on Instagram, you'll know how much I have lamented the fact that creatives who don't bend the knee to the wokeism have just basically been locked out of the industry.
Yeah.
So much so that honestly, I gave up. I've resigned myself to the fact that fashion photography for me, not going to happen.
And to the point that people will keep their mouth shut even if they don't agree with it.
That's that's the part that I can't
just to
stomach.
preserve their own career.
I made that comment before, but now we've got an article here because obviously anti-Semitism's on the rise. We've had the Bondi shooting and things like that. An Archibald winner, someone who has a very prestigious career, has come out saying that woke politics is, he's talking about it specifically in regards to Jewish artists.
Yeah.
But I would argue that these cultural institutions have locked out key people who have been able to preserve culture or reflect culture in a way that didn't go along with the ideological narrative. And now we are seeing the arts in general, the entire industry is starting to collapse.
Well, this has been a long time coming, and it should be a meritocracy. The further something moves away from being a meritocracy, the more inevitable its collapse becomes. I would say the film industry kind of led the way on this because they were one of the most formally funded.
Yeah.
There was structured funding around film. And so what happened very quickly, if you wanted to make a film in Australia, you had to, and you wanted to get any government money, well, then you had to tick all of the boxes. And these were diversity boxes and cultural relevance boxes and various things like that. I've had to fill out those forms before on behalf of projects that I was working on. It is mind-numbing. And so you have to compromise on your artistic vision or whatever it was that you were going to do or say. You now have to tick the boxes to keep the bureaucrats happy to get the government-funded money. The problem then is that you end up with a mediocre product. And therefore the market response is poor. Therefore you sit there going, well, I would have lost a lot of money if it wasn't for the government grant. I'd better make sure I go for a government grant for my next project as well, which means the cycle repeats. Add to that the nepotism where these bureaucrats, once they kind of know, these people do, these people are good, we've worked with them before, it kind of becomes this self-reinforcing thing. And so what happens is the industry actually dies because the perception exists now that Australia can't make movies for international audiences. Australian movies aren't successful. There's just indie stuff on the side. Well, the reality is America comes here to make some of the biggest blockbusters on earth. We have the talent at a crew level, at a all of your technical level, your post-production, all of that. We have talented writers, we have talented directors, and we have famous actors, most of them living in LA now. We have everything. Why can't we make the internationally successful film? Well, it's because the first thing an Australian filmmaker does when they go, I'm going to make a film, is they go and download the grant application forms and start going, oh shit, I don't have this. I don't have a transgender whale in my film. I don't have I better tick all the boxes. And by the time you've done that, it's not just about casting, it's about content, it's about cultural relevance, which is a very, very nebulous test.
Yeah.
And by the time the bureaucrats are happy, they've watered down your project to the point that it's guaranteed to fail.
100%.
And I think that's happening right across the arts now.
Well, it's funny. I watch a comfort show every now and then just when I'm working and I'm doing deep work and I just have it on as background noise. And there's a show I've been rewatching called Younger. It came out
I've heard of it.
2014, I think. And the basic plot line is it's a woman who's 40 who couldn't get back into the industry, so she lies about her age, and she lives as a 20-something.
I think my wife has actually mentioned this to me and said it was quite good.
It was really good, and I remember enjoying it at the time. So it's on Netflix now. And I was like, I'm just going to rewatch that whilst I'm doing some work. And unbeknownst to me, I'm more attuned to it now. It is full of woke. I never realized that at the time. There's things in there about pronouns before I even knew what pronouns were, but now I attune to it. I can hear it. I'm like, oh my God, this conditioning was so deep. I didn't even know about it. And now we know that all the time. We just roll our eyes every time it's like, oh, the trans person, oh, that person, whatever. But I thought what was interesting in this this person has got a storied career. This person is very established. It's not some like Joe Blow like me. Because when I say things like this, I'm an extremist. I'm just the grifter con woman everyone
Or
hates.
you're just jealous of everyone else's success
Correct.
or whatever it may be.
And that's what my haters will say. They'll say that, oh, Carly's just not talented. To which I'll say, interesting, because the remarks I got from my masters, not to bring it up again, but was
Here we go.
I displayed advanced technical efficiency that shows I have a extraordinary grasp on photography itself, right? So as far as like my talent was there.
Yeah.
Where I didn't quite drive the point home was because I didn't have the extra $20,000 on the actual exhibition.
That's all.
But this is the thing. Aesthetics and taste no longer account for anything. And I would argue that's a big part of the arts and cultural world. You needed people who were tastemakers.
Yeah.
And whenever we look back, because we always love to look back and go, oh, Cezanne or Picasso or Michelangelo, they were the masters. That they weren't at the time necessarily.
Sure.
A lot of it's always look back and review and go, oh, wow, that was the turning point. That was the moment when we first saw that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, people like me who might have a voice and wanted to really contribute to the arts community, we got locked out.
Yeah.
And I also live in one of the most progressive cities in the world. But I'm going to read you just something that he made in his address. He called on cultural leaders and artists and said there was a callous indifference and a lack of moral courage. And he basically said this was during an address to a Sydney Institute think tank. And he's deeply concerned about the marginalisation of Jewish Australians, but also he's one of our, this is what the article says, he's one of the country's leading artists. And he said that the culture industry is increasingly driven by ideology, identity politics, rather than by aesthetic judgment. We have arrived at an unfortunate alliance of convenience. The woke, LGBTQI+, Indigenous, feminists, progressives and radical Islam. And I believe it is from this a culture of hatred for Jews has emerged. And sadly, yet again, we go down this cycle.
Wow, he's not mucking around. He's like, that is
He
belling
said
the
the
cat.
thing.
Yeah.
He said the thing.
Yeah.
And he goes on to talk about how cultural identities are amplified and rewarded. And most notably was that Palestinian activist who's at the writers' thing. And she's been allowed to come out. Now they made this big song and dance about it.
Yeah.
But he went on to talk about this, and I was like, wow, that is the gut punch if I ever saw one. And it's interesting that it's taken someone like that to finally come out. And people will argue, oh, I don't know if this person's Jewish, by the way, but he's a white man. What does he know?
Yeah.
But all I can think about is what have we left on the table?
Yeah. What's the opportunity cost been?
Yeah.
And we'll never know.
No, we'll never know. But I dare say there are holes in our culture because of this nonsense.
Oh, 100%. You go back to around about the Sydney Olympics is probably the last of it, when we saw the last of it. You go back to the 80s and the 90s, we had a very clear cultural identity. You can argue about whether it was a good one or a bad one, but I think it was pretty clear what Australia was. And we knew how to celebrate. You have your mates around, have a barbie. We used to have street parties, on the street, cricket on the street, and people, there's a car coming, everyone gets off the street, all that kind of stuff. We had our own way of being and our own way of celebrating. And we had our own kind of arts and culture and comedy and everything else that came along with that. And I think when you kill the arts, you kill a part of the identity. And when people say now, Australia doesn't have an identity, well, it does. It
just doesn't live up to the ones that you want it to be.
Well, it's been smothered over in the mediocrity of this kind of arts community that's actually trying to keep bureaucrats happy rather than be inventive and creative.
It's been lost in snobbery. There's a reason The Castle still endures 30 years later and people still quoting a movie. I haven't seen The Castle in probably...
straight to the pool room.
Right? Yeah. When was the last time you saw the movie?
What do you know about lead?
We're going to Bonnie Doon.
First time I drove across that bridge, I was like, oh my goodness.
Bonnie Doon's a real place.
This is it. This is the bridge from the movie.
You're an ideas man, Steve.
I think that was probably the first time I ever went to a real life location that I identified with a movie.
Did you dig a hole?
I did not, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a reason. We can still quote that movie. I probably have not seen it in 20 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it. But, and in that movie, for example, it had that larrikin Australian that was somewhat relatable. Everyone knew someone that was a little bit like that. Jenny, microwave Jenny. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I feel like we've lost a big part of that. And also, if you want to argue culture, we are a young nation. We're 250 years old.
Yeah.
We're not going to have 1,000 years of Renaissance and medieval and Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Give it time to grow. And the more you've tried to section it off to certain minorities,
Yeah.
I would argue you haven't allowed that culture to develop anyway.
Look, again, this is another area where attitudes, I think, are changing. I think people are becoming bolder about celebrating Australia, flying the flag. They're becoming bolder about pushing back against extra flags and the mantra of multiculturalism, which has morphed into an anti-Australianism. You can celebrate every culture except Australia. You know, it's multiculturalism, but not for that one. And we've watched all of that happen. We're watching the pushback happen now, in my opinion. I think the future is looking really, really good, culturally, economically, technologically, in every single way, as long as we can stop politicians from fucking it up.
Yeah. Just at the end of this article here, I just think it's worth noting. He talks about how this is particularly geared towards anti-Semitism and Jewish people being persecuted.
That's obviously the catalyst for it, yeah.
But he was talking about how a Jewish gallerist was the first one to give him a solo show, and how the Jewish community has contributed so much to the arts over the years and things like that, and now they're being demonized by it.
Yeah.
And this is, can I just say, this is actually incredibly true. Of all the people that have given me big opportunities or things like that, actually, a lot of them have been Jewish. I'm not Jewish.
Yeah.
I don't hang around with specific Jewish
You're
people.
not at the front of the synagogue,
No, God, no.
rattling
And
the can.
my knowledge of the Jewish faith is mediocre at best. But I sit here and I go, like, why is that the first thing that we noted? I looked at these people as like, these were people who were kind to me, nice to me. Like during COVID, the person, a person reached out to me and took me under their wing, and that ended up being the person that helped me through all that craziness as well. Was Jewish, but the Jewishness didn't come up. That wasn't at the forefront. That wasn't something that like I knew. I didn't even really think about it. And I've toyed with the idea of going to Israel, but now I know that if I go to Israel,
you'll be forever. But I mean, you already are. Like both of us are already, because we're not Jew haters. We're already tarred with that.
What are you guys going to say when I decide of my own volition to go to Israel? Are you all going to be like, oh,
yeah?
I'm just fascinated.
I think it's an interesting part of the world. I personally would be more interested in going to Prague. That's where my wife and I wanted to go for our wedding anniversary. Cool. We didn't have the money. Go to Prague and Budapest and look around that part of the world. But yeah, I mean, if I mean, hey, is Israel on the way to Prague? I guess it kind of probably is.
Do you know what's funny? As I was thinking, like, if I go to Israel, because I know a lot of people, like for example, my girlfriend Helen, she's Russian or Russian-Ukrainian. Her mother currently lives in Israel. They fled Ukraine and went to Israel.
Yeah.
They're not Jewish. And Helen has been saying to me, you need to see Israel. It is so beautiful. They're not Jewish, just so you know. They're not telling me to go there because of the Jews. They're like, Israel is amazing. And Helen's mum is she's a master tailor, and she makes wedding dresses, but also like, you know, beautiful coats and things like that.
Yeah, okay.
And Helen's been saying like she wants to go back and see her mum. She hasn't seen her mum since all of this war stuff broke out. And she's like, oh, would you come? I was like, yeah. I hadn't even thought about Israel much before all this nonsense.
Yeah.
But do you know what I would do?
What would you do?
What's a hop, skip and a jump? Kind of, sort of, not really, but kind of. It's on the Mediterranean. Egypt has just unveiled the new museum, and I am so desperate to go.
Did they just pick up the British Museum and bring it back to Egypt? Is that what they did?
That's what they should have done. No, have you seen this? So they've been talking about this for 20 years. So I went to Egypt in, I think it was like either 2008, 2009, somewhere there. And the old British Museum looks like this if it brings up a photo.
Well, you know that joke about why are the pyramids in Egypt?
Because the British couldn't pick them up?
Yeah, because the British couldn't carry them. Yeah.
I have an opinion about that. I think most of what's in the British Museum should be sent back to the countries they stole it from.
I disagree. Most of it wouldn't exist if it hadn't been taken.
No, I disagree because no one has pillaged Tutankhamun stuff's all there. Like the Egyptians, I can't speak for everyone because look what the Taliban did in Afghanistan with the Buddhas. But the Egyptians take this stuff so seriously. This is so protected.
Now.
Yeah.
Hasn't always been the case. I mean, grave robbers are definitely a thing in Egypt.
Oh, yeah. But back, like, we're talking thousands of years. Anyway, you're getting me off track.
That's my favourite thing to do.
This is an old colonial building. It was pretty dilapidated when I was there. And, like, these are the treasures of, like, 4,000, 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not a small building, but there was so much. It was all kind of, like, shoved in there. Yeah. And there was no real...
Just bric-a-brac cupboards.
It looked like an op shop. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit chaotic. I'm underselling it, but it was a little bit chaotic. So they've just unveiled a new one. And I would give my left kidney to go be here. I am so desperate to go here. So I love Egypt, by the way. Like, this is just, oh, hang on, come back. But what they've done to make sure it worked in with the pyramids, they have matched the trajectory and all of the
angles
to the pyramids. Like, they have made it part of the landscape. And even though it's like incredibly modern, on the outside are heaps of hieroglyphs and cartouches.
Yeah.
They put a massive obelisk out the front. They've brought in all of these. Look at it. And apparently,
that is cool architecture.
Oh, God, what I would give to go there. And what they've done is as the dynasties change and all the pharaohs change, you go up in levels of the museum.
Huh.
So it's like historical ascending.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I might go to Israel, guys, but I also might go here. I'm just saying.
Or a little bit of both. I mean, they're not that far away from each other.
It's kind of close.
Can you get into Egypt if you have an Israel stamp in your passport? Are they one of the countries?
It was Syria.
Syria one.
Yeah. So that happened to me. I went to Syria. I went to Damascus. And then I was told I wouldn't be able to go to Israel because I'd been to Syria.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's changed now. That was 20 years ago.
My brother got himself questioned by Mossad on the tarmac of, I don't know, Tel Aviv airport or whichever one it was when he landed in Israel. He was trying to grow a beard. My family are not blessed follically. We are not follically capable. And so he had this awful straggly white boy goatee going on. No. It was just a horrible.
He's trying to do the old System of Down or something.
He looked like it was Billy Goat's gruff. Okay. And he was studying Israeli, Jewish language, Hebrew, but he was also studying Arabic at the same time. And he was traveling, and one of the things that he was very self-conscious about was that he used to take very, very long showers. And so he had a little egg timer that he would have with him in the shower.
Where is this going?
So they meet him on the tarmac as he gets off the plane because they're going down the stairs. They already knew who he was. They had a photograph of him. They were intercepting him. For some reason, he'd been flagged. And they take him into an interrogation room and they start asking him questions, and he tries to be clever and answer in Hebrew, but he's flustered and he's getting his Hebrew and his Arabic mixed up. So he's this white boy growing bad facial hair, speaking in,
he's an ISIS bomber,
insulting their language. And then the best bit is, they're going through his baggage and they find the egg timer and they're like, what is this? And he had to explain to Israeli intelligence that he has a problem with taking long showers, and he brought an egg timer, a waterproof egg timer with him.
Do you know what? That story would have worked in his favour because it's so elaborate. Like, if you were a terrorist, you'd have that down to one or two sentences.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
He got himself into trouble. They let him go. They let him in.
Do you know what's funny is, like, I've had a few people because, like, Avi is a good friend of mine. Yeah. And you guys can say what you want about Avi.
I like Avi.
I will never not be friends with someone just because you guys tell me I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I will say this. Like, whenever Avi and I have hung out, we don't actually talk about politics whatsoever.
Yeah.
He's a hoot.
Yeah.
He is a hoot. Yeah. And his wife, Rhonda, I adore.
Have you read his book?
I actually haven't.
It's actually a worthy read, more so than I expected. It really was.
Avi, give me a book, please.
And, I gave that book a thorough review. I tried burning it because obviously, he's Jewish, so sooner or later it's going to be on a pile. We all know that. I tried I smoked a cigar, lit off one of his pages, and I read the whole thing from cover to cover. It's a really enjoyable book.
Oh, well, Avi, give me a copy so I can read it. But yeah, I was like, someone said, I hate that we're at this point now where I'm being forced to pick a side. Like, you're on the Jews side. I'm like, guys, prior to the October 7th, I gave it no consideration.
Yeah.
Now you're being forced to take a side.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
Right. And sorry, but I'm not going to side with the side that thinks Hamas is okay.
I've always wanted to go to the Dead Sea. Like, that's been on my bucket list. I want to float in the Dead Sea and get covered in burny, ouchy, salty.
Yeah. That's like, have you ever done like the what are these, like, clamshell thing with the magnesium water in it? What are the float?
A float tank.
Yeah, like
yes,
a float tank.
Many times.
Yeah, they're horrible. Your skin just feels weird.
Yeah, it feels like it's burny because of the concentration's so high.
But then also, like, for a day afterwards, your skin feels like there's a layer of slime on the outside of it.
They tried to get them to take off. I don't think they ever quite did.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I did them once and once only.
Well, I didn't mind. Like, I did sleep in it or whatever, like you're meant to. But the problem is, like, it's such a pain in the butt. You have to get into your bathers.
Yeah.
And then you got to shower afterwards, and it just ends up taking too much time.
No. Couldn't stand it.
But yeah, so back on the travel thing, I kind of really want to just go to some cool places.
Yeah. I'm obviously I'm going to the US later this year. So are you?
Yes.
Going to get some traveling done. I would love to do a bit of Central America while I'm up there. Check out Mexico. Check out. I'd love to.
Will you come to El Salvador with me if I can make it happen?
If I'm invited, I'll come to El Salvador with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm invited.
Reckon NIAB, because I know your intelligence agency will watch
definitely
this.
be watching this. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
You need to watch every single episode of the Oddcast because I bring you up at least once.
I tell you what, you are her favourite person.
Probably your number one fan.
Yeah, probably.
It's weird. I don't want to pedestal a politician.
My bladder is telling me it's 3 hours.
It is 3 hours. This weekend you get 3 episodes of the Oddcast.
Oh, this week, yes. This week you get 3.
This week,
so Monday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah, so if you want to watch it live, are we streaming it live or are we just recording
It'll be streaming. No, it'll be streaming out live. Show them the stickers. Everyone that is coming to the birthday party, you will go home with a sticker. Because apparently Carly is like 2 years old and thinks that this is what everyone wants. No, this is a great idea. And I tell you, the colour looks, it looks good on the camera. It looks fantastic. The colour on those is amazing.
I hope I get one.
There's a leftover one.
Now that I've ordered them, I was like, wait, I didn't think about that. That's a good
sticker. All right, everybody, click on the coffee button, buy us a coffee over there, and you can still become an OG Oddie, but this is like literally it, because on Saturday, the OG thing disappears. You will never be OG. You can be Oddie, but you can never be OG.
Can I clarify something about Ko-fi? Because we've been having this issue, and it's so much so that it's got to be said on the podcast. So when you join up to be an Oddie, you must make an account on Ko-fi. And people keep saying, I'm an OG Oddie. That doesn't matter. Ko-fi is a separate platform. It's not us. So when you sign up to be an OG Oddie, the name, you have to become a member of Ko-fi. You have to sign up to it. Otherwise, it will expire and it won't renew. So a lot of people are like, oh, I signed up as an OG Oddie. But then the next month they get cancelled. They're like, I didn't cancel it. It's yes, because you're not a member of Ko-fi. You need to create an account on Ko-fi. Otherwise, your subscription won't go.
Okay, everybody get busy.
Yeah.
Get busy.
Just to explain that to you guys, because we spent ages trying to figure it out. Now we know why.
Now you know why. Okay. I wasn't aware that was the problem. All right. Also, head to topherfield.com and make sure that you get a seat in the... Oh, hang on,
it's me.
There it is. You get a seat in the Getting Your Head in the Game masterclass. If you're the kind of person that has little light bulb moments when I'm talking about politics, well, you're going to get light bulb moments when I'm talking about life. It's 16 hours, 8 different topics spread out over 8 months, so that you've got time to put things into practice before we open up the next can of worms. And these are the life lessons that I learnt the hard way in 2024 that allowed me to turn my life around quite literally from the worst year of my life in 2024 to the best year of my life in 2025. And I've got to say, 2026 is treating me pretty well as well. So I want you guys to be able to learn that the easy way rather than the hard way. And while you're on the website, topherfield.com, looking for the early bird pricing for the masterclass, buy a hoodie or two, please. I really need to turn those over so that I've got money to get a new design of hoodie for winter. Thanks.
Yeah, that was some good grifting. Well done.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you like what we do, please support us on Ko-fi. That's very helpful. That just makes it a little bit easier to give you so much more extra time.
Yep.
But we will be talking to our Oddies on Saturday, an idea of what we might do for the podcast, because we need you to share the bloody show. We need to tell more people about it.
You've just brought it up today. I haven't had time to digest it and think about it. We'll see. But yes, we will be discussing it with the Oddies who are there at the first birthday party on Saturday.
You need to ruminate on it.
I need to ruminate.
You need to marinate in the idea. All right. Well, on that note,
yeah, cool, guys.
We never end on a funny. Can we end on a funny?
Have you got one?
Let me see. Probably not right now. Now I've got the pressure.
Yeah, no, there's no pressure. But you're the one that brought it up. We could have just ended. We could be out. My bladder could be emptying by now.
Ugh, that's disgusting. I don't
and
know.
Instead, I'm sitting here waiting for you to Google funny joke.
No, and so okay, maybe this was G's idea. Maybe we can start this as next week. But he said you can't just end the show talking about Iran.
Yes,
and people
I tried
dying.
to say that last week. I tried to save you from that mistake. We were in such a good spot. It was funny. It was light. We could have ended and been out, and you had to go to Iran.
Yeah, Iran. I keep saying it wrong. Iran. All right, so I'm in the Oddie Discord. Let me just pull this up. Oh, someone's calling me.
Getting a...
Here we go. This is the OG Oddie. So we have all the memes chat where people show some of the...
Oh no, that's terrible.
Should have vetted this before I opened it. Some funny memes going in there.
You oddies are terrible.
Let's look at this one. This is a Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not even going to read it out. But that's it. That's the funny. You laughed. Success. Maybe we'll end on a meme. Maybe not so dark.
That was a pretty dark meme. But anyway, for those that are listening, sorry, I'm not gonna repeat it.
Yeah, that's the part of the Epstein files I've tuned out. I'm like, there's things I don't need to know. That's up there with them.
All right, got to finish. My bladder says so.
I can smell your food.
I was gonna thought you were gonna say you could smell my bladder. Like, what? How does that make any sense?
It smells like meat and it's wafting up here.
Yes, it is wafting up here. Yes, my food has arrived. We need to go.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.